Testing, testing. Why am I nervous? There's people I don't know. And I've got to talk to them and show my face in a minute. But I'm distracting myself by charging a power bank first. Oh, the people I know. There he is. I'll let you watch me plug in my charger. Someone say something, like ask a question or something. Or if not, I'll show you what's on my bench, I guess. Once I've put this on charge. Fuck off. Congratulations on 30k. It's crazy. It's completely crazy. The amount of time that I was on like 20 subscribers. Admittedly, I wasn't making any videos then, but oh, I've lost 2 viewers. They preferred it before I put the camera on. There we go. Luckily, there's not too many viewers, so I don't have to be too scared. Right, well, no one's asked anything. Let's have a look at what's on the bench. Oh wow, I've dropped down to 7 viewers. That's not good. I think this might be quite a short live stream. Hopefully you can hear me all right. These are parts for the next video. I thought nothing's done as well as the power supply video, so I'll make another power supply video. But this one is on linear power supplies, not switch mode power supplies. And because they're so much simpler, I thought I'd just build one. So every single part of the power supply, this is the transformer, I've put onto a little PCB with headers. So I can basically build the power supply as we're learning about it, which I thought would be quite cool. So there's a fuse, there's a switch, they go there, and there's a rectifier, capacitor, and regulator. And we've got 2 different types of rectifier, capacitor, and regulator. So we can explore that, I guess. And right now I'm just doing some testing because the Zener diodes in the regulators, the ones I bought are shit. So I dug some out with my drawers that are a bit better, but I've got closed loop and open loop regulators, and the closed loop one's being a bit dodgy at the moment, hence my setup. I suppose I'll show you some bits of the lab you don't normally see. I guess I normally sit there with the drawers behind me. Oh yeah, I got this cable thing last weekend. It's my new favourite thing, it's so nice. Then over here, this is another shelf you don't normally see, that's just got more shit on it. And then down here, this is something I'm working on at the moment. This is the motor from a Renault Zoe. I'm upstairs in this house, and that thing weighs like 80 kilos or something, and I'm very skinny, so that was a big challenge. My back hurt for like a week after getting that up here. But yeah, I've got the inverter from that as well, which I can show in a minute. More shelves with stuff on. I'm hoping I'm not going to show anything incriminating. The computer's here. That's where you guys are. Then I've got another shelf here with more shit on. And I don't really have a lot of my shit here. Most of it's in Sheffield. You still have... No, I don't have the iPace motor here. I didn't have space for it. Show us power supply. Red Bull. Yeah, I like Red Bulls. I'll show you. Oh, I don't know if my lead's gonna reach. Let me. I've got for my computer. I have this laptop, and it's just plugged into a like dock thing. I'm gonna see. Oh, I'm gonna see if I can carry it without it coming out. Oh, I don't think it's worth the risk. I think it would end the stream. Let's see if the webcam will reach far enough. I don't know if you can. Yeah, you can see the back of it there. That's my proper Red Bull collection. Anyway, yeah. So there's more. Let me just hide this document. So there's more shit on this shelf. This is the inverter from the Renault Zoe that I'm looking at the moment. That's the DC link cap. And then it's like most EVs, it's DC-DC converter and inverter in one. So that's the DC-DC converter, which I am yet to take apart. I need to do some heavy desoldering here, so I think I might have to take this into work to desolder. And then here's the inverter, which I think is the more exciting bit. It's really nice. Nice packaging. I'll bring it somewhere a bit brighter. I don't know if here is actually any brighter, but DC input, and then each of the three half bridges has its own pair of DC terminals. Oh, it's a bit blurry. I hope it's not too blurry for you guys. My bit rate's limited by the internet here. I'm not sure I'll feel better if there's like 100 people watching. Phase outputs, and then it's quite nice. So I've desoldered the gate drive board, so I can just lift that off, and you can see inside the power module. So it's IGBT. It's quite old. This is from a 10-year-old car, but you can see the... Oh shit! Something fell in. I'll get that out in a minute. Yeah, you can see the IGBTs and the diodes as well. Let me just get my tweezers. I don't want to forget there's something inside the module. So, this webcams are not very good cameras, are they? Right, well you can imagine there's a little piece of something in here, and it's not in there anymore. Exciting. Something that's quite cool is on this power module, you can see these holes at the top. They're actually the cores of the current sensors. They're embedded into the power module. So often you'd have these AC bus bars coming out and then a little toroidal current sensor around it, which I'll show in a minute what they normally look like. But here, there's just Hall effect sensors drop in, and there's a magnetic core sort of moulded inside this plastic. So, yeah. But my plan is to redesign all the electronics of the car, except the power module, because that's a bit fiddly. So, is it upside down? No, it's back to front. So I'm just keeping the gate driver on here now to stop any more crap falling in. But the gate driver is what I'm designing at the moment, a new gate driver, but progress is slow. This is one of the PCBs as well. It's quite nice, so I just have it on display by my computer. Been thinking about using an inverter and a car for partial home power backup. Yeah, I mean, they're buying, like, I don't know what it's like in other countries and things, but right now in the UK, the used EVs the price has dropped massively. So it's probably the cheapest way to get a lot of battery capacity. Whether it's the safest, I'm not so sure, but does that matter? I'm not sure. Right, let me pop this camera back. Oh, it's upside down. There we go. Yeah, I suppose getting the power from the batteries into your house, that would be a bit more of a challenge. Well, if you buy an off-the-shelf inverter, it wouldn't be too bad. Do you plan on enabling YT memberships? Yeah, YouTube keeps telling me enable memberships, but I don't really understand the point. People pay to see the video earlier. Why would someone pay for that? It's not, my videos aren't time relevant. It's not like MOSFETs. Maybe if I delay it by like 20 years, it'll be out of date. But I don't know. It seems like you just make the video anyway, but then just like hold on to it for like a week or something. And I make the videos so that people can see them. So I don't really want to like have people paying. I don't know what. Yeah. I definitely don't want to make videos that are just for people who pay, because I just don't really like the idea of that. If I make more videos, I'll get more money from YouTube normal monetization. I don't really want to put a paywall in front of people learning things. That just seems stupid. Kind of defeats the purpose of teaching. Although I suppose university costs money, kind of. Depends where you are. I don't think I'm going to end up doing more live streams. We'll see. If the time balance, it's more like a way for people to show gratitude. Yeah, I suppose. But I don't know. There's other ways. I'm happy if people subscribe. That's enough for me. Yeah. Yeah, I prefer, for me, watching the subscriber number's more interesting than a bank account number. Balance, whatever it's called. What else can I show you? Got all these boxes. Hello, Canish. YouTube's got this live thing. Part of the reason I wanted to do a live stream is just to see how much like info and things YouTube gives you. It's quite interesting. So right now it says 19 concurrent viewers, but there's been 84 views. So I suppose unless the same person keeps coming and going, that means people aren't sticking around for very long. Members only stream wouldn't be too bad. But then, I mean, right now this is for everyone, and there's 20 people watching, so members only stream would probably be like a one-to-one thing. Yeah, I don't know. How did you figure out switching power supplies? I don't really remember. I think it was about 2 years ago I learnt about the basic converters at uni, so like flyback and boost converters and that stuff. I mean, the power supply is basically just, I didn't really learn about the power supply specifically. I sort of learnt about, I knew what a flyback converter was, and then all the other stuff like the snubbers and things, was just from other things I've done. Um, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't really say like, oh, read this book or something like that. Because yeah, I've never really looked into it, like researched power supplies. I just kind of picked that one up one day because I was making a collection. You know, I showed at the start the different sizes. I was buying power supplies for that collection, and then I just kind of looked at that one and I was like, this is actually quite simple. I could probably reverse engineer it and then explain it. But I think giving it the title of like every component explained was quite quite cocky of me, considering I've never like actually looked into power supplies much. There's not a lot on Wikipedia, which is my normal source of all knowledge at the moment. But yeah. Have you got any cool uni projects you could show? I have got a big box labelled projects over there. I can always show that at some point. I'll join in from another device on the same account. I have come and gone like 5 times now. Set up a channel just to be able to chat. Am I really that exciting? Got to remind all viewers to like the stream. Oh yeah, like the stream. Does this? Can I see how many likes it's got right now? Viewer activity, analytics, stream health. It just keeps warning me that my bitrate's too low. There's not really much I can do. I can't see how many likes it's got. I've got a button at the top that I can click and it gives you all an advert. So once the water I've been drinking goes down a bit, I'll probably give you all an advert. Although probably most of you won't actually see it. The thing that explained power supplies to me was a video by Buildzoid. I'm afraid I've never seen Buildzoid, but YouTube, I think, is probably, yeah, where most people learn things at the moment. It says 12 likes. Oh, wonderful. I suppose if I get it up in another tab, that won't mess anything up. YouTube, view your channel. Oh no, not Buildzoid. Live. And I put the weird cursed grey Electroarc there. Oh yeah, I can see the likes now. 40. Oh no, we don't want to hear me. Yeah, that the Electroarc green and the blue and the yellow, that was just kind of messing about. There was an old logo, I might see if I can find it, that was just like made in PowerPoint, and then it was quite early on really. It was still like probably like 4.5 years ago or something. My friend made me the intro, which the soundtrack of the intro, the like sort of robotic that's from Apple Logic Pro X or whatever it's called, music software. That's just like a sample on it. So I gave him that, then he made that intro, which I really like. So then I asked him for some logos that look the same. And then we tried loads of different colour combinations and things. And I ended up quite liking the green. I really like it now because it's green like a PCB, and the blue and the yellow are like lightning and fire or something. I don't know, but it's cool. And then the outro music I composed myself. So I even had someone email me and they were like, I've tried all of these different song recognition websites and apps and I can't find your outro. And I was like, that's because it's mine. Quite cool. It's like a sort of shortened remix of a really shit song I made years ago. If you watch the oldest videos, either they're like hidden unlisted ones or the metal halide lamp one, you can hear the long version of that song in the background, and it's not very good. Sorry, I've been talking too much. I liked from 2 devices and it counts as 2 different ones. Oh, I bet it's gonna get, one of them will get removed at some point. Because I think on a YouTube live stream, I can, well, anyone can open this stream in loads of tabs, and it counts as loads of views, but then once all the monetization goes through and things, it doesn't. I really like your videos. I just finished my uni degree. Oh, that's good. There's someone... I'd be quite intrigued to see what the average age of the viewers of this live stream is, because looking at the analytics for my whole channel, it's very mature people watching my videos. I think more than half are like over 50, and I'm targeting the other end. I'm hoping for viewers less than. I won't say anything. Actually, I don't want to offend people. But around my age, university age, I think is my sort of target demographic. But yeah, everyone's less than 50. That's good. It's when people are older than my parents, I'm like, oof. It's like not a problem. Obviously, you keep watching my videos, but it's like I'm going for people that would be at school, if you know what I mean. I should probably shut up, or I'll lose all my elderly subscribers. I think it's because I've covered quite a lot of stuff that ham radio people like, and I've got a suspicion that older people have a lot of time on their hands as well to just watch stuff on YouTube. But I don't think it's unique to me. I remember seeing like some big Clive stream years ago, and he said, like, how old are you guys? And everyone was like 100. And it's cool being watched by a teacher. I want to be some kind of teacher at some point, but I think my parents don't want me to be a teacher. I don't know why. I think they did some teaching at some point and they said it's not very good. Less than. I've got 25 viewers now, so it's not like I've scared them off. I get like this live plot of views. I would share my screen, but I feel like there's going to be something on it I can't share. Anyway, I was looking for the old logo, wasn't I? That was really crap. I think it's crap enough that it's gone. Actually, I'll plug in the Electroc drive. That's got all the old stuff on. I've kept every single piece of footage I've recorded, so I've got like 2 terabytes of stuff. Because even though I record with this, I record the videos with this Nikon DSLR. It's only 1080p 30 FPS, but still, like, every video I've got like 40 or 50 gigs of footage. I'm very impressed that my laptop can handle it all. It never lags or anything when I'm editing. But that's a reason for not going to 4K, is that then I'd have to get a better computer. I'd have to get a desktop, and then I've got to put it somewhere, and ugh. What was I doing? I just said I was going to do something, and now I've forgotten. Something to do with the camera. Oh yeah, I was going to find the old logo, because I have it on my phone. But this is going to be really poor quality, because... actually, I know. I'll take a screenshot and then I can share it and make it look a bit less bad. Old logo, thank you, Ben, for reminding me. You want to design a DC-DC current controller for some maglev. That sounds interesting. If it's not isolated, then it's not too bad. Send to myself. So I'm doing all this to show you a very mediocre, boring logo. I don't know why. Could you help me with some resources? Maybe. The problem I've got is that, especially the power electronics, most of the stuff I've learnt, like in the past few years, has been in conversations with people. So that's the most useless thing. If someone says, how do I learn? And I say, go to the same uni as me and then talk to this guy and this guy for hours and hours. Yeah, I just... reading books is a bit boring, and some of Wikipedia is quite sparse on information. Maybe I should populate it. I've always got a very itchy nose, and it's annoying because obviously it looks like I'm picking my nose, and sometimes I'm not. Save image, downloads, save. Maybe I was that time. Source is supercapacitors related. It's 110 volts. So do you know what the source is already? Because normally supercaps are very low voltage. So 110 volts, you'd need a lot in series. But 97 amps is not very high. Or do you need 110 volts? 110 volts and 97 amps at the same time is quite a lot, actually. It's like 10 kilowatt. Could we get the laptop specs? Yes, sure. Let me just finish showing you this logo for no reason, because I've started doing it now. So OBS and then display capture. This is where I need a second monitor so that I don't have to share everything in one go. But I'm a fan of just having one big monitor. So if I do share and then get rid of my face and then click on there, that gives you a chance to all admire the old logo. It's literally just word art in PowerPoint. So I only had that logo for the first maybe 5 videos or something like that. Most of which are now unlisted in the playlist called like old videos or something like that. Laptop specs, what are they? I got this ThinkPad like 2 years ago or something, because I've always wanted a ThinkPad. I don't really know why. I think they're just cool. And they've got like a configurator on their website. It's brilliant. So this is I think this is the top spec for. It's like the top spec of the like mid-range one, I think. It's a bit like my car. I've got a top spec Ford Focus that probably cost as much as a Mercedes, but a very old one though. I'm not rich. What's it got? It's got a Ryzen 7 something or other. Let's have a look. Task Manager tells you what it's got, doesn't it? It's just integrated graphics because I don't do any gaming, and it seems like a graphics card didn't really, because I used to use a desktop with a 1060, which I know is slow, but this integrated graphics is like half the speed of that, but it doesn't really seem to have affected the video editing at all. I have a Ryzen 7 Pro 6850U. Anyway, let's move on from the specs. Oh, I've got 32 gigs of RAM as well, because why not? What's your opinion of components on both sides of PCB? I've been changing my opinion on that quite a lot, because like on the Formula Student team at uni, I spent the first year I was leading it, which was 2 years ago. I spent sort of the whole year saying, don't be afraid to put components on both sides. I don't know why people don't. It makes packaging much easier and things like that. But then you come to solder it, and once you put components on one side, it's a bit annoying. Also, you've got problems with, like, for example, the gate drive for the inverter I showed earlier. I'm putting all the components on one side on that, so that it's a lot easier to repair. I don't have to desolder the board from the power module to get to the stuff underneath. So there's definitely advantages. Also, if you're getting it like assembled by a company with like a pick and place or something, they'll charge quite a bit more if they have to flip it over. So yeah, I guess single side, I think it's called a single-sided load, is probably better unless you need both sides. I'm trying to think of examples of things. It's like this board actually. This is one from the Zoe. This is mostly on this side, and all that's on the back. It's a bit like a CPU where you've got the actual processor on one side and then all the decoupling on the other side. This looks like there's a lot, but there's just tons of vias basically, and test pads. Loads of test points. One thing I see quite often is through hole on one side, surface mount on the other, which then means all of your soldering is on one side. That's quite smart. I like that. Blast from the past. What's the blast from the past? The camera? Oh, the logo, of course. Sorry, I've got a really bad memory. Hey bro, I love your content, man. I'm also an undergraduate at Triple E. Oh, that's good. That's another person in the target age range. Not that I'm discriminating. A run through of your test equipment and brief thoughts on them would be cool too. Yes, I'll do that. I'll do that in a minute. Bro, I want to learn everything basic electrical engineering. You're a really great teacher. Oh, thank you. I'm hoping to cover basic things. I struggle to like stop at the basics and not keep going, but I think that's like the MOSFET video, which I think is the video I'm most proud of. The idea is that it starts off for someone who's never heard of a transistor before, and by the end it's covering like parasitics you need to know to design an electric car. So I think I feel like that's a decent way of doing it, because I was thinking of splitting it up into like a simple one and then a middle one and then a complicated video, but I mean, if it gets too complicated for someone, they'll just stop watching. I know there's an argument for making a video not 45 minutes long, but I'd rather make one good, concise, conclusive video than split it up. Because I think it makes it look a bit like you're just doing it for money as well, if you're like part 1, part 2, part 3. But yeah, ThinkPads are durable. Yeah, I know. I think they are too, but I know there's people that are like, I've seen people online say that they used to be when they were IBM, and then now that Lenovo are making them, they're not. But I think for a Windows laptop, they're pretty good. Like, you'd have to go to one of those weird rugged ones to get something tougher. Obviously, you can get something that's probably more powerful and thinner, but then they might be a little bit delicate. And I take this everywhere with me, so it's good to have it strong. X1 Extreme, I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. The word extreme sounds Intel. Update of Windows 10 has messed up the serial COM port. Oh, I know. Windows 10 and beyond just makes doing anything like serial or like UART and all that stuff just so painful. It's really annoying. You can see why like CNC machines and things still use like Windows XP. Same problem. I don't know what that relates to. The Ford was the saviour of our uni third year. It was. It is quite a nice car. I haven't driven for like a month, but I'm going to this electronics, well, this like engineering trade show thing on Wednesday next week. So I'm going for a drive next week. But I have to park the car under a tree where I live, so it gets shit on it in like 6 hours. So every single time I want to drive the car, I have to go and wash it first, which I guess is good. But yeah, I buy a few new laptops. Touchpad cable is flaky, and the T14 is a ThinkPad. Ugh. I hope I don't have problems. Micro SD card. Yeah, that's the one. If this had an SD card slot, I think it would be perfect. I ticked the option for a smart card slot because my friend's HP laptop had a smart card slot, and I wanted to copy her, but I've never used the smart card slot. There was no option for an SD card slot, but that would be really useful because I use them quite a lot. I'm a bit worried actually. The SD card I use for my videos is kind of falling apart. They're very flimsy things, and this was like 100 quid or something. I imagine it's probably worth about 5p now with how quickly they evolve, but still. Great content, thank you. Despite being a bit older than your target audience, it was the educational value that pulled me to your channel over the years. Yeah, I think that's why there's older people like my content as well. God, I sound like an OnlyFans creator. Yeah, because I think I'm quite thorough in my explanations, so I can fill in gaps people might have. If you could guide through solving the subtle problems you'll run into, like noise and transient, I'd like to see that much removed from the basics. Yeah, that's sort of similar. I have people asking. Sorry, I realise you probably can't hear me reading the comments. I have people asking me to do like repair video and things, but I think I'll leave that kind of thing to more experienced people, because repairs are the kind of thing where, like, Mr. Carlson will do a much better video because he's spent many years repairing stuff. It's a shame he only covers really old stuff though, but I don't know. I could try and do a repair video, but also they're so unique. I'd do a repair video, find a problem with an inductor, and if your problem's not with the inductor, the video is completely pointless. Like, I'm not sure. Also, they're a little bit... My videos used to be much less scripted, and I just spend the whole video going, I mean, I still do now, but I cut them all out. Having a top-to-bottom explanation is great. Yeah, I don't know why more people don't explain like that. Just start with the simple things. If there's something complicated that's at the start, leave it out and then bring it in later. Like, I think some people get annoyed at, like, making a generalization and saying, like, oh, I'm sure there was something in the MOSFET video that I said quite early on. Probably, like, not mentioning the body diode, and people are like, oh, you have to mention the body diode immediately. But I think you should always start off as simple as possible. It doesn't matter if you're lying a little bit. Do you have any electronics project in mind? I've got so many projects I want to do, but I'm so busy at work, it's really annoying. That's why I haven't done a video for a few weeks. I'm going to try and record one this weekend. I don't know when it'll get fully edited and things, though. Yeah, electronics project. I'll go. I can have a look at some of the projects in my box that I've done in the past. But yeah, I think doing this YouTube's quite. The sort of the long-term project becomes the YouTube channel, and then, like, if I did a project that lasted 6 months, I wouldn't be able to make videos really. So it keeps me doing sort of shorter-term projects, which is good because I've got quite a short project attention span anyway. Look tight, UHS, they have extra pins. What's your educational background like? I think fairly typical. I haven't really done anything special in terms of engineering or anything like that. It's a little bit tragic because I was at a primary school in one part of Sheffield, and then we moved house so that I could go to a different secondary school that specialised in design and technology. And then the year before I started, they decided not to specialise in design and technology anymore and just became a generic secondary school. So all that moving house and everything was... I mean, we did it for other reasons too, but that was a bit depressing. And then at secondary school, there was this really good electronics teacher, but he left just before I got to GCSEs to do electronics, and the school curriculum changed as well, so they didn't actually teach electronics for GCSE or A-level. So technically I started uni 3 years ago and hadn't done any electronics before, like in terms of getting taught it. But I've got a big folder on my computer full of projects I've done in the past and things like that. Where is it? Here. The first one I've documented is 2016, so I would have been 13 when I did that project. I did projects before, but that was the first one I took pictures of while I did it and things. So I've been doing projects for a long time. I think in terms of educational background for electronics, I think it's mostly from YouTube. Started from YouTube, then from playing with my own projects and self-teaching, I guess you'd call it. And at the moment I'm mostly learning from conversations with people, which I don't normally like talking to people, but if it's technical I do. That MOSFET video was great. I had just finished reading a book on semiconductor spice modelling and it tied things together well for me. That's really good to hear. Yeah, that video definitely had the most planning and things. Normally, if I have an idea for a video or I want an idea for a video, I go for a long walk. So I went for an 8-hour walk in the Lake District, and I set off on the walk thinking I'm going to do a video about MOSFETs. And then by the end of the walk, I had 3,000 words or something typed out on my phone that was like not a full script, but basically I was just walking through this massive woods, just kind of. I was dictating to my phone because it was raining, so I couldn't type on it, and I was just kind of saying like, that was when I sort of came up with all the ideas of like which bits to add in when, what order, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I've done the same for this. I thought I'd do a video on a linear power supply, so I did a massive walk at the weekend. Sadly, my foot got injured, so I had to cut the walk short, so I haven't quite finished my script. But yeah, when I say script as well, it's mostly like notes and things. I find if I'm just reading from like a fully written script, then I sort of turn a bit like this and just read like that. And you can probably tell I'm probably more animated now than I am in the videos, because it's even less scripted. But I can't do videos without a script, because I just do this and end up going like just sitting for ages not knowing what to say. What was your final year project? I haven't graduated yet. I'm on a year placement working. So my final year project will be next year. I don't know what I'm going to do for it yet. Obviously something power electronics. But for our projects, if we want to work on it at uni, which I'd quite like to do, we're limited to 120 volts DC or like 50 AC, which is basically means I can't do anything particularly interesting. Obviously I could do like a several 100-volt thing at home, but then I have to do all the risk assessments and I don't know. So I don't really know yet. There's one of the lecturers runs this project every single year that's to make a coil gun, and he keeps trying to recruit me to do that and sort of tempting me by saying no one has gone over 100 meters per second yet. So I could do that. The problem is I'm not really very keen on like military stuff or something. Like obviously war's bad and all that stuff, but it's mostly because I want to have a job where I can tell people what I do. And I don't like the idea of all the secrecy. I wouldn't be able to keep it secret. I'd accidentally tell someone like, oh, you know, we're working on this new electric tank, and then I'd get locked up. But yeah, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do for my project yet. I guess I'm hoping for guides on design more than repair, because it's easy to shoot your own foot, I've found. I don't know what that phrase means because I'm not very clever, but yeah, I personally find design a lot more exciting than repair. But I think being able to repair or like knowing repair people or whatever, I think that's really useful, because then you can know where common problems are and design around them. Like I guess watching repair videos is quite a good idea. They're always quite relaxing as well, I find. Whereas like I don't think you'd put my MOSFET video on in the background unless you didn't care about actually learning. But you can put like Mr. Carlson on in the background, and he's just... The repair people always have great voices. Where have I got to? Yes. Can you make a video about soft switching in the MOSFET? Yes, I really want to do one. I'm trying to work out how to do it, because you might have noticed that I don't really use the oscilloscope much in the videos. I try to avoid using it because I think it can confuse people a bit, and also it looks a bit crap pointing the camera at the screen. At some point I'm probably going to buy a scope where I can do like a live video capture, because the new Rigol has a HDMI output, but then I've also got to buy some kind of capture device to get it onto the laptop, and the whole cost is quite a lot. So also, yeah, if someone's just starting out, I think the scope can potentially be a bit confusing. So I normally try and avoid that, and I think it'd be really hard to cover soft switching without using the scope. So yeah, that's my thinking. And then also I quite like to sort of, if there's something that's like time domain based, like soft switching, you've got to time things right. I like to try and come up with ways to slow it down so that it's a bit easier to digest. As in, like instead of having to switch at 100 kilohertz and view it on the scope screen, is there a way that we can soft switch at 1 hertz and actually see it on a multimeter? But I'm not sure that can be done for soft switching, really. It's something, it's on my list. I've got a big list of video ideas. Are your repair videos? even if the problem isn't the same for the end user. Yeah, that's the thing. I think. Sorry. I think the thought process and like I think I'm all right at troubleshooting. I'll just say that. So I think covering the steps of what I do. Maybe it'll be quite interesting as well because I haven't really done any repair stuff before. Because normally I just don't have time, and I've got like if my bench power supply breaks, normally I'll just go on eBay and find a replacement one. I mean, if it's a linear power supply, I'll fix it, but otherwise, I use the power supplies for my projects. I don't want the project to be fixing the power supply. And also, when they're like £100 second hand, you're probably going to spend more than that fixing it. So, yeah. But yeah, maybe it would be quite interesting to sort of see someone repairing something that's not actually repaired things before. Could we have that demo of your test equipment? YT mentioned, please. Yeah, I'm going to get to that. I'm trying to catch up first, and then I'm also going to give you all an advert when I go to the toilet. Why are DMM fuses so expensive? Yeah, I know. It's because they're HRC fuses, which stands for high rupture capacity. So, basically... I don't think I've got any HRC fuses, but I've got normal fuses. Obviously, like the simplest and most traditional fuse is just a glass one like this, except it doesn't look very glass. Let me find a more glassy one. But the glass fuses have really bad interrupt capacity. So, if let's say you've got a 1 amp fuse and it breaks, there's a fault that puts 1,000 amps through it. It probably won't be able to interrupt that current. The fuse wire will just sort of be vaporized, splatter conductive metal all over the inside of the glass, basically turn it into a cylindrical mirror, which is then conductive and will just keep conducting the electricity. You get arcing in them as well. The next step up is sort of like a traditional mains fuse like that. It's a really crap camera, I'm sorry. They're ceramic and they're filled with sand, or near enough to sand. So when the wire breaks, the sand falls into where the wire was, and if it's really hot, the sand turns into glass, which is a very good insulator. Multimeter fuses are basically like a really extreme example of that. They're wow, I think the stream is quite laggy. At least my preview of it is. Yeah, the ones in multimeters are basically just like they've got a lot of features and a lot of effort goes into making them safe, obviously, so the multimeter doesn't blow up in your hand, so they can interrupt very large current and things. I'm sure you can find dodgy cheap ones, but I guess they're also it's just because they've got to be more safe than traditional fuses because there's something that's in your hand. Oh, you're starting your master thesis. That's exciting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going back to uni and doing the same. What's your opinion on embedded systems, and what does it need to be learnt to be embedded systems engineer? I guess embedded systems engineer. What would they do? Probably lots of code. Yeah, doing like embedded programming I think is quite different to like programming on your computer, doing some Python to do data analysis or whatever. If you're programming like a microcontroller in C, that's very different. So getting good at that, and embedded systems, probably also you'd want like PCB design, PCB layout, things like that. There's quite a nice thing. If you wanted to go into that kind of thing, it's quite an easy thing to do your own projects with, because like with power electronics, for example, you've got to like have a load, a big beefy power supply to test all your stuff or whatever. But to do embedded stuff, you can just sort of design your own board that's like an Arduino or something, plugs into your laptop. All you need is some basic soldering kit and a computer. So yeah, if you've got limited kit, that stuff's probably a bit easier to look at. But I'm not the biggest expert in that field. You would need to have a big heatsink if you would want to demonstrate soft switching at very low frequency. Yeah, that's the thing. When you say fun design challenge, it's like, yeah, I mean, I just need it to work for the video. I don't need it to be efficient. Like that buck converter I made for the last video, it's like 80% efficient or something. But if I need to design something for the video, it needs to be something I can do in a weekend at most. Are you at Red Bull Powertrains or RBR? I am at Red Bull Powertrains, but probably don't ask me about that because I'm not very good at keeping secrets. So basically it's software and hardware engineer. Yeah, I think so. My understanding is that embedded stuff is basically hardware with software on it. So being good at both, knowing that like, oh, if you have this particular bit of code, it will do this electrically. Knowing the interactions between like code and electronics, like knowing ADCs and signal processing and things like that's probably quite useful. Do you watch Big Clive videos? I used to. I probably stopped watching him like 4 years ago or something. Not because I've got any problem with him, but just sort of like don't really have time. And I find like obviously he's got his thing, which is like sort of mostly like buying cheap crap on eBay and things. But after you've watched like 100 or 200 of them or something, there's not a lot of variation between them. I don't really watch much electronics YouTube. I haven't really the last few years because sort of just a bit busy really. But I am a big fan of Big Clive, and it looks like he's doing very well because I think the last time I checked when I used to watch him, he had like 300k subs or something, and now he's got over 1 million. It's crazy. I really enjoy your content. Where do you see yourself working in the future? More on the application side of power electronics or also in the development of power semiconductors? I think the semiconductor development itself I wouldn't be very good at because there's lots of physics and chemistry, and I find that a little bit dull. I'm very interested in the application engineering, so like someone else can design some fancy new type of gallium nitride MOSFET. I'm interested in getting that into a product and evaluating it and that kind of stuff. Working in the future, the problem I've found, I haven't, because I'm still a student, I haven't done a lot of working, but I've done now 3 months at Red Bull. I just find people are just so tiring. So really, I want to work somewhere where there's no people. Where I'm not sure how that's really possible. I suppose I'm slightly hoping that this YouTube channel continues to grow to the point where I can just do this, because for some reason, even if I've got 100,000 people watching, in my head there's no one here, and that keeps me happy. But yeah, I just can't cope with people. Damn, so no ops room. Not for you guys. I mean, at the moment, I don't think there's really much going on in there anyway, because the Red Bull Powertrain is basically just designing the 26 engine. Come to my work, there won't be many people. Not anymore. It's a bit sad. I got this as my final year project. How does it sound? Development of a compact, galvanically isolated startup power supply solution for high power compact DC-DC converters. Yeah, I've heard there's a guy called Lee. at a teacher called Lee at my uni, and he was talking to me. He runs a project that's basically exactly that, and I thought that sounded really interesting because there's so many different ways that you can do a project. There's so many different ways that you can do a startup power supply. You don't really have to worry about efficiency too much, and if you just need to like get some power from somewhere to somewhere, a small amount, in an isolated fashion, there's a lot of different options. Right, I'm gonna go to the toilet and give you all an advert. I'll turn my camera off as well so that the people with ad blocker don't just see an empty room, and then we can have a look at my test equipment. I won't be long. "34 viewers." I go away and I get more viewers. Literally, I should just mute the stream and just sit here and watch all the viewers come in. Who got an advert? Did you take stuff apart when you were a kid? Yes. I know Big Clive said that he did that when he was very young, and so did I. I remember being like, I must have been like 6 or 5 or something, and I had like this metal magic wand toy thing. I don't really know what it was. I think it was just like a piece of metal basically. But I was like sat on the floor while my mum was cleaning or something, shoved it into a socket, and she was like, she was like grabbed it off me and was like, "Don't do that, you're gonna die, whatever." And then I was like, "No, I just shoved it in the earth I didn't use any big words, but I was like, it's the earth pin, it can't hurt you, it's connected to the ground," or something like that. So yeah, I think Big Clive said very similar things. I remember him saying he like took apart a Hoover or something and never unplugged it before or something like that. Yeah, I forgot to turn off the sound. Could you hear anything? Oh yeah, as well. I don't know why this webcam's not 16:9, and if I drag it out, then the height you lose is sort of useful stuff. So that's why I've got these green things down the side, and I thought I'd just shove a little logo in the corner. Anyway, what is a nice way that I can show the stuff? I was really hoping there'd be a way I could use my normal camera and hook it up, but it's only got a HDMI output, and I don't know how to get HDMI into the laptop. Well, I guess you need like an external capture thing. I don't know what, it would be so useful if like HDMI outputs could be inputs as well, especially on like a laptop, but I'm sure there's some reason why that won't work. What's going on this live stream? Nothing. I'm just kind of, I guess it's like most live streams, I'm just kind of randomly chatting, but I'm about to show people the test equipment on my bench, and clearly there's a lot of hype for it because I've now got 39 concurrent viewers. But is there a way that I can get the camera? I wonder if I can put the webcam on my tripod. Let's give that a go, because then I can point at things more easily. Oh, I've lost viewers. They didn't like the tripod. I should probably get rid of that. It's a bit depressing watching it going up and down. Let's see. It's a very old tripod, this. I think it used to be my grandfather's. But that probably means it's much better than anything I could buy at the moment, so hopefully it won't break. Right. Drum roll. Oh, if you were here from the start, you would have already seen the desk. Oh, the lead on the webcam's not long enough, so you're going to have to come back a bit. But that's fine. Now, how do I put you on here? My grandfather had the exact same tripod. Maybe it was the exact same grandfather. You never know. Right. So there's the stuff on my desk. I don't really know how much you see that in the videos. Just move my mic. There we go. So you can actually see this is like a behind the scenes for my videos. I've got another chair here. That's the back of it. And this is the one I sit on in my videos. So normally I'll sort of sit like this, put the chair all the way down, and then be like, hi guys, this video is going to be about MOSFETs or whatever. And the microphone is always here, right underneath the camera. I don't know whether to get a different microphone solution at some point, because the problem I have is if I'm like close and then go a bit further away, there's quite a big volume difference, which I try to fix in post, but I don't know whether a little clip-on like lavalier microphone would be better, but I don't know how to shop for microphones. Do the gallium nitride charger explainer video. I know, I've been thinking about the GAN one. The problem is, it's almost the same in terms of like layout and things, except it's really hard to show on video because it's all tiny. So I don't really know a nice way of doing that. But it's basically smaller because it switches faster, and it's got fewer components because they care less about EMI than they used to, and it's lower quality. It'll break sooner. That's the reasons it's smaller. But I will definitely do some kind of video on gallium nitride at some point. Sorry, I know I'm looking off into the distance. That's where the chat is. Sound is excellent. Thank you. Yeah, there was... Which video was it? I think it was the power supply video, where I like exported it. I uploaded it to YouTube, and they show like the amplitude of the sound, and it was like crazy. If you just skip through the video, it's like loud here, quiet here, but I think YouTube compensates for it a little bit as well. And I've got better at not moving around too much, because I guess a clip-on mic probably wouldn't sound as good as this one. Yeah. Do you find editing videos is a bit tedious? Not too bad. Because, yeah, I mean, if we take like the MOSFET video, for example, I think that worked. That's about 40-minute video. I probably had about 5 hours of footage, because the camera will do 20 minutes in one go and then it turns off to save the file. I don't really know. It's not overheating because it lets you start again immediately. But yeah, basically I just sort of set it recording, I'll sort of say a bit, then I'll leave it going, because then I don't have to keep resyncing, because I record the audio separately. So fewer longer clips is better for me, but yeah, I end up with a massive amount of footage. But luckily I know if I'm not saying anything, there's no point putting it in the video, so I basically cut out all the silence, and then there's sometimes I might say a sentence 6 times because I keep stumbling over my words. I'll cut all that out. But it gets a little bit tedious. I don't find my own voice annoying anymore, which I think probably helps quite a lot. But yeah, sometimes it is a bit annoying when I've like recorded the video, I just want to release it, and I'm just there for hours cutting out silence and things. But I'm not going to lie, normally I find it's a bit narcissistic, but normally I find my own videos quite interesting, so while I'm editing it I'm like, oh, this is quite good. I just read an interesting PhD thesis by someone from Zurich who developed a 4.8 megahertz GAN inverter. That's crazy fast. That must be some kind of soft switching, I guess, to switch that quick. The thing you want for your microphone is called automatic gain control. Yeah, I tried to put that in post with like a compressor, and I did have like a sort of, I don't know, what's it called, an audio chain or something, with like a compressor and a limiter and things, but I haven't had it the last few videos because I've got better at doing that manually. One last chat I'm going to read, and then I'll quickly run through my equipment. What do you do for a living? I work, well, I'm still a student, but I've got 1 year placement working at Red Bull Powertrains, which is like Formula 1 engines. I design the inverter. Why? I don't design it. I sort of hang around the people that design it. The inverter for 2026, which is a 350 kilowatt inverter. I can tell you that because that's part of the rules. And yeah, part of the hybrid system. So let's have a look at what we've got. I'll get my usual pointer, the little Vera screwdriver. Now, first off, I'll quickly show you. This is a very small amount of my test equipment. I've got quite limited space in this lab. I think this is the 4th lab I've had because I keep moving house because I'm a student. This is probably the most minimal setup I've had in a good 4 or 5 years, but I basically got rid of the stuff I never really found myself using. Like if you watch my older videos, my previous house, I had 2 analog scopes. I never really turned them on. I just had them because they look nice. Let me quickly find a picture on my computer, because the background I have for Teams calls has the shelves of my spare test equipment. I think you might quite like seeing that. I just need to find where it is. Sorry if you're asking any questions now, it'll be a little while before I get to them. So I always think my files are organised well on my computer until I actually have to find something. Lab maps. Oh wait, there's a folder called lab. Oh no, that's not the right one. Right, well, I'll give up with that for now. But yeah, I have a lot more. Let me know if you really want to see that picture, and I will try and find it, because I've got, this is probably 5% of my test equipment, but it's all very cheap, very shit stuff. I saw someone ask where I get it from. A lot of it's from ham radio rallies, which it'd be, for lack of a better way of putting it, is basically old people selling things that their deceased friends used to have. So it's all extremely cheap. There are other reasons people sell things there, but yeah, it's mostly older people selling things quite cheap. But normally they're either broken or, like, I think I've got more than 10 analog scopes. Nearly half of them don't work. I don't know why. It's very hard to speak to someone. They've got a table in front of them covered in stuff, and they're like, "Do you want this broken oscilloscope for £5?" And you're like, "Oh, but it looks so cool. I don't care if it's broken. It looks cool." So yeah, I've got a crazy amount of stuff. It's really bad. Like, I'm just looking at. I haven't got much of it here, but one example. Whoops. Is this. This is an LCR bridge. It says MOD Navy Department on top. Next calibration June 1987. I think the actual thing was made in the 60s. Yeah, it says at the top here, December 1966. I think that was £5 or £10, and I bought it because it looks cool, but it doesn't work, and I always buy them with the idea that I'm going to fix them, but obviously never do. So I've tried to refrain from going to those events, because it never ends very well. The last one I went to, I still bought quite a lot of crap. I can show you some later, but I tried to find things that I could cover in videos, so I got a few things. These really cool glass capacitors. Maybe I'll do a video on them at some point. Anyway, what have we got here? 2 multimeters, nothing special. I think I used to have things not plugged in, but now everything should be plugged in. Oh, that fluke's not plugged in. So yeah, there's a fluke one there, a Solartron one there. They're not even like 4.5 digit. They're just kind of basically like a handheld multimeter, but I prefer them because they don't auto turn off and they don't run out of battery. You can just leave them all the time. I've blown the current measurement fuses on both of them, so that's not very helpful. But I use them a bit. Here is... Sorry, I've got some crap in the way for the next video. This is a function generator. It's a really weird one because it's massive, like it's really deep, and it's just not particularly good. Like, it's got some features that are really nice, like you can essentially type in what frequency you want, type in what amplitude to the volt, like to the nearest millivolt, that kind of thing. But then the only waveforms it can put out is sine, triangle, and square wave. It's sort of like really, really old school, but with some nice modern features. It's like you can't even vary the duty cycle. I think if this could do PWM, it'd be really useful. But I don't really ever use it because it's yeah. Then this, I don't really need it anymore because I've got that down there, which we'll look at in a minute. But I always find it's nice to have something that can do high current or high-ish current. This is a linear power supply that's essentially it's 12 volt 30 amp, but you can adjust the voltage 9 to 15 volts. I've got another power supply at home that's basically the same. It's really annoying, these high current linear power supplies, because you can't take them to 0 volts, which makes them not particularly useful, but sometimes this is nice to have. It's got a really nice display on it. So it's like an analog display with 2 dials, or 2 needles. So there's one that shows voltage, one that shows current, and then where they overlap shows the power. There's like these curved gradicule. I'd try and show it on this camera, but I know it would just not show at all. But I don't really need that anymore because a friend at uni sold me this BK Precision rack mount PSU. That'll do 80 volts, 60 amps with a max power of 1200 watts. So it won't do both at the same time, but that's more current than this, more voltage than this. The only problem is it's got a noisy fan, so I've got a new fan that's been on my desk for a week. I just can't be bothered to dig this out to change it. Then over here, I find it's very useful to just have lots of power supply channels. So I've got, this is my main power supply I use. It's nothing special, but it's this TTI one. I've heard lots of good things about them. Lots of universities have the TTI power supplies. It's not digital or anything, but they're just really robust and nice. Then also from TTI, I've got a function generator. This, again, is not great, but it doesn't have a big, loud fan like that one. And it does let you vary duty cycle. For some reason, it's got the power switch on the back, which is really crap, so I added my own at the front, which now makes it useful. There's another power supply up here. This one is a lower power than that one. I only use this if I've run out of channels down here. And it's also got a fixed 5 volt output, which I use for my sophisticated fume extraction, which has the new type of invisible filter on the back of it, activated charcoal. Then at the top we've got my scope, which is basically the only thing I've, apart from when I got this power supply, it's basically the only thing I've ever spent any like more than like 50 quid on. Is this Rigol. It's the usual 1054Z that basically everybody has. And then down here I've got this little power supply, which I think is actually the same one as Big Clive has, or at least had. Which, this was sort of the one I used before this for higher power stuff. And that's about it. I also have this, which was in the stack, but I've taken it out now. This is my test inverter that I use for testing motors and control strategies. It's got 3 knobs on the front. At the moment I have one knob does switching frequency, one knob does output frequency, and one knob does modulation index. And then the buttons I haven't made do anything yet. So yeah, I've got a video on this. I'm sure you've probably seen it actually, but I do use it a little bit. But because it's a bit of a crap design internally, you put out like 10 amps and it gets really hot. So I avoid using that where possible, and I'm working very slowly on a better test inverter, which I can show in a minute. Then let's quickly grab you. Then over here there's not much more. I've just got a soldering iron, which is nothing special, it's just some cheap eBay thing. But I've had it for years and I haven't had a problem, so I've not replaced it. Hot air, same deal. Just some cheap thing. I got that second hand from a guy who lived in like Blackpool. Yeah, and then the Fluke multimeter, that's a legit one I bought straight from Fluke. It's sort of it's not their cheapest one, but it's their cheapest one that's not crap. So yeah, don't really have much other equipment. What else is there? Yeah, there's not really anything else to show. Anyway, I'll bring the camera back and reply to some things you've been saying. And then I might go and get a biscuit. Although I remember, once again, I remember Big Clive doing a live stream, and he said you shouldn't eat on a live stream because then everyone has to listen to your food. I left my microphone. I hope you could hear me. What do you do for a living? I've done that. They used a multi-level approach. Yeah, that's very cool. I think gallium nitride's making more people do multi-level stuff because the voltage it can operate at's quite a bit lower. Oh, I love water. Wow, Red Bull. I hope you're doing a great job. Extremely competitive. Yeah, that's the problem. I don't really have any problem with a competitive application process because I quite enjoy doing interviews, and I enjoyed that one. It was the 4 different like heads of the electronics departments, and it was just like 4 nice chats. But when you turn up and there's the other placement students and they're all staying late every day to try and prove themselves, I don't know. Yeah, I like what I do there, but I don't really want to stay late because there's just I'd stay late if it was just me there. It's just people. I spend a lot of time hiding from the people, like going into the lab or whatever. But yeah, I think because of the competitiveness, I'm slightly looking forward to getting away from it. Not that I feel like I'm a competitive person, but not in the way that it is there. And that's not just there, that's all F1 teams, because I worked at Mercedes as well for a few months a year ago. Where did you get the equipment from? I think I covered that. The Radio Rally stuff, most of it's broken or not very good at all. So better stuff I'd get on eBay. Yeah, I think EV Blog's done a few good videos on like how to find this stuff on eBay. But I haven't bought test equipment. I haven't bought much test equipment for quite a long time. I bought that rack mount power supply from a mate a month or two ago. I've also bought... it's still in the box. I've bought 2 of these. Well, I only need one of them, but I've bought... This is a switch mode power supply. It's meant to be for like a test rig. So that's the front of it. It's got no controls or anything. It's all remote controlled. But that was so that it was cheap. Well, it still wasn't that cheap, but new these are like £2,000, and I got it for a lot less than that. This is for testing my inverter. So this is 400 volts at 10 amps. No, it's not. 7.5 amps. So it comes to 3 kilowatts, which conveniently you can just about get out of a British plug. So I'm going to use that for inductive load testing of my inverter once it's all built. I know it's very out of place, but do you have any movies/shows you'd recommend? That's funny. I was sort of wondering if anyone would ask about like TV and things, because yeah, well, I've never really watched telly that much since I like left home, but the last few weeks I've been doing more because I get back from work and like I want to do this stuff, but I just can't because people tire me out, and they're not even talking to me. They're just the presence of other people. I wouldn't leave the house if I had the choice, as you can probably tell. I just watched The Gentleman. I watched the movie obviously when it came out. Very good. The TV series on Netflix, The Gentleman, excellent. So I would recommend watching that. I watched a movie last night. I think it was called like Lucy or something like that. Lucy? Yeah, I thought that was really crap. I think it's sort of like sci-fi thing. I'm sure other people like it, but not for me. I'm a lot more into like gangster movies and like the less story the better. I'm quite an emotional person. If anybody dies that's like an actual character, I'll get a bit upset. So normally I just like something like Fast and Furious. I like there's lots of explosions and things, but there's very little actual story going on. But yeah, The Gentleman's good. Also, I watched a movie. I think it got quite bad reviews when it came out, but The Bullet Train with Brad Pitt. I watched that a few weeks ago. I thought that was very good. And actually, it's sort of jumped into my top 5 movies. Is called The Accountant. I watched that last week. That's sort of it's a bit of like an actiony movie thing, but there's this underlying backstory. It's like sort of covering like the protagonist is autistic, and it's sort of I just think it's brilliant. So I would recommend watching that as well. Your scope looks very nice. Oh, I'm not sure. It's nice, but like you should see. I've got at work we use it's a Tektronix 6 series. It's an 8-channel scope. I think it's like 3 gigahertz or something on all the channels simultaneously. It's insane. They're like I think they're like well over £100,000. So compare that to like a 300 quid Rigol. Also, it's like that big, and it takes like 20 minutes to boot. So we just leave it on 24/7. But yeah, with the advent of high voltage / power electronics, do you think DC is making a comeback? I'm not sure. Obviously, that HVDC is a thing. It has been for a while, but I think DC is a lot better for point-to-point than it is for the network as a whole. Because I think, although DC to DC converters and things like that are still are very prevalent, I think if you had to swap every single substation in the country with like a 1 or 2 megawatts DC to DC converter, I think that would be it'd be quite pricey. And also, like a substation is just a big transformer, maybe some fuses or something like that, but nothing's gonna. It could probably last 100 years and be fine. I don't think a 1 megawatt, probably silicon carbide DC to DC converter is gonna last 100 years. Probably not even 10. So, I think, Yeah, whereas obviously at the high end they're not using MOSFETs really. They'll be using like big thyristors and things like that. They're a bit more reliable. It's fine. They can spend 10 million quid on two DC to DC converters or DC to AC if they just need them at either end of a big line. But yeah, I think for actual like distribution, I think that's going to stay AC for the foreseeable. Because also there's just so many things. Like if they changed everyone's house to DC one night, then anyone with a linear power supply just sets fire to the house. It's all a bit problematic. Have you looked into power electronics and server and data center environment? There are some really cool things done. Yeah, I've seen. The server power supplies are really nice. Lots of the companies that make MOSFETs and things. I'm thinking of Infineon. They've got an evaluation module thing. Basically, they make the MOSFETs, and to show off their MOSFET, they've built an entire server power supply. But they're just so nice. They've got all the features. It's like this tiny little thing. It's like 3 kilowatts, perfect power factor because it's got power factor correction. It's like 99% efficient. The server power supply stuff's really nice. I haven't really got any. I suppose that XP unit I got's kind of similar. It can't be as efficient because it's got a variable output, but it's the power density is crazy on it. Watching from India, it's 1:10 a.m. You should go to bed. Also, how is it 10 past 1 there if it's 8:15 here? Anyway, yeah, they used a 2-level 3-phase flying capacitor system with each switch at 800 kilohertz. Oof, even 800 kilohertz is crazy. 800 kilohertz. Yeah, I think the fastest I've seen hard switching inverter, fastest switching is probably like 40 or 50 kilohertz maybe. 800. 800 is crazy. If that's 600 volts per device, that's really pushing the limits, because I think most GAN can't really do over 650. Like some of the data sheets say 700, or maybe even 800, but then you look closely and they say it's really 650. We're just saying it can survive like an 800 transient, but probably not continuous transients. I see lots of Red Bull cans on the top shelf. Is there a story behind those? I do work at Red Bull at the moment, but I had all the cans before then, really. These are just my spares. I showed it earlier. I've got a full like rainbow of all the flavoured ones at the back. I don't know, yeah. I like collecting basically everything. I think it's part of the condition, as my mother calls it, is liking to collect things and organise them and all this crap. I have a much bigger collection of Monster cans, but since I started working at Red Bull, that has been hidden away, and that'll probably come back out in a year's time. I want to put all my Monster cans in a big row. I want to have a big shelf one day with all the Monster cans on, but the number of cans I've got, the shelf has to be like 4 or 5 meters long. So I think it'll be a while before I've got a house with a room that big. But I might go and get a Red Bull, actually. That's a good idea. We do get free Red Bulls working at Red Bull. It's really funny. My first day I had like 3, and then I went to get the 4th one out of the fridge. And then my boss was like, no more. But yeah. Did you watch Tulsa King? I presume that's a movie. Tulsa King. Oh, it's got the Rocky guy. An American comedy. Oh, it's a series. I'm trying to not get into series too much because I get really into them, and then I don't do anything until I've finished watching. I know most people are like that, but I like to try and be productive with my time, even like in the evenings after work. So I try and avoid series where possible, but it does look like the kind of thing I would enjoy. There's just certain. I'm a fan of like this the samey actors that most people don't like Jason Statham. Any film with Jason Statham in, I'll watch. Matt Damon, Mark Wahlberg. I know sometimes they do movies that are like not just punching people, but most of the time they're just like yeah, or like it's not quite as much, but like there's all these sort of jokes about how like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson is like 3 or 4 different movies and they all look exactly the same. That's the kind of thing I like. I don't like change. I like to just watch the same movie but in a slightly different form many times. But mentioning Matt Damon, the Bourne series, apart from the last one, that's really good as well. Oh, I was just reading a comment and it got redacted. I wonder what it said. I hope it wasn't rude. Are the Tektronix scopes that just straight up run Windows? I don't know what they run. I know there were old ones that ran Windows and actually had like a desktop and things. I mean, this is definitely running a full operating system because it has a keyboard and mouse. It's got USB ports at the back. I would suspect it's something Linuxy. There's no like desktop or anything. It's basically just a normal scope, but a cursor appears and you can enter like your volts per division. You can type in on the keyboard. The mouse is sometimes useful if you want to the testing I do. You have to do data captures quite a lot. So if you want to like name the file, then having the keyboard and mouse is quite useful. But yeah, they've done a good job of making it feel like a normal scope, because there are some of those like scopes that are more just like basically a computer with scope software. I don't really like those. Yeah, I'm a big fan of movies with simple stories too, well produced, of course. Yeah, I don't like ones that are crap. But yeah, maybe it's an engineer thing that we don't really have the capacity for like a deep emotional story. Do you know if Max really drinks a Red Bull after a race, or do they fill his can with something else? I don't know. This isn't the kind of insight I get, I'm afraid. But I think if it's an actual metal can, I think it's probably Red Bull. But if it's like a lot of the time, like before the race, he has the quite big Red Bull bottle with a tube coming out. That's definitely water. I think if it's anything except an actual metal can with a tab on top, I think it's probably water. Or I don't know, maybe they have like protein shakes before the race. But it's quite interesting at powertrains because we are pretty much exclusively working on the 2026 power units. We're sort of in the factory, surrounded by people that are working on the current car, but we're not. So I guess like at the moment, obviously Red Bull's sort of dropped back a little bit. We're surrounded by people that are all stressing, trying to think like, oh, do we need to add a little piece of plastic here, or carbon fibre here, or whatever. But for us at powertrains, there's not really anything we can do. Like we've got our own deadlines to stress about and things, but the performance of the current car doesn't really affect us at all. Are you excited for the 27th race? October 27th. Is that the next race? It's ages away. 27. I think it is the next race, isn't it? I'm not gonna lie. I don't know where it is. Is it Austin? I think maybe it's Austin. Sort of excited. I don't know. I've watched every race for like 5 or 6 years, But I don't know. Yeah, I'm a lot more interested in the technical stuff than the actual like drivers. I can appreciate some good racing when it happens, but doesn't happen particularly often at the moment. Although actually, no, recently it's been pretty good. It's also like I'm a fan of Red Bull. That's why I chose to work there. But at the same time, I appreciate that other people are winning at the moment. It's quite exciting. Because I think basically all the F1 teams, they do various bonuses. So like at Red Bull, there's the race win bonus. So I probably can't say how much it is, but basically everyone gets a financial bonus every time Max or Checo win a race. But apparently student placements like me don't get them, so I don't really care if we're not winning because I don't get the financial benefit. And yeah, but weirdly the people at powertrains do get the bonus, even though nothing they're doing is affecting the current car. But maybe it's just for morale. Austin, yes. Did you see Revolver? I don't think I've seen Revolver. Is it one that I can't see because it's on like Apple? No, 2005. Guy Ritchie as well. I think some Guy Ritchie things are brilliant. Brilliant Guy Ritchie back to his best. Why haven't I seen that? Maybe I think I probably have seen that then, but it might have just been when I was at home, so I wouldn't have clicked on it. Someone else would have. Because I think me and my dad have watched basically every Statham film. But yeah, I think I watched Snatch recently with my friend, and obviously that's another good one with Statham and Guy Ritchie, and Guy Ritchie directed Gentleman as well. Gentleman movie is probably my favourite movie. I also like The Departed, big fan of that. What are the general methods for controlling DC current at higher voltages? I don't think the voltage makes a lot of difference really. Like the semiconductors you're using as your switches might be different, but in terms of something switching power electronics, it's going to be an inductor. If you want to control current, inductors, voltage, capacitors. Unless you're talking like higher voltages, like hundreds of kilovolts, I think then you've still got inductors, but you end up with these like I think they're called MMCs, modular multi-level converter, MMC or something like that. MMC converter, or it might be MLC. MLC, multi-level converter. I'm sure MMC. MMC's modular multi-level converter. Yeah, they get all a bit weird once you're above maybe like 5 kV or something. I think the voltage range between like 100 and 1 kV, 100 volts and 1 kV is probably my main like focus, because I'm most interested in automotive stuff. So obviously electric cars 400 volt, maybe 800 volt. Electric cars can be up to 1 kilovolt, modern ones, because that's what the chargers do up to. It's the same in F1. The rules allow up to 1,000 volts for your battery. What are the things to look out for at higher voltages? It depends what you're switching with. If you're switching with IGBTs, I don't want to say there's not much to look out for. Obviously there's a lot. It's dangerous, but no one wants to hear that. But if you're using silicon carbide at higher voltages, all these problems start, all the parasitics start being annoying. So my MOSFET video probably covered a lot of them, but because silicon carbide MOSFETs switch so fast, you've got, if you imagine like the output of your half bridge is going to go from like, I don't know, let's say 800 volts in your electric car, it's going to go from 0 volts to 800 volts in like tens of nanoseconds. You have your dV/dt, so the rate of change of voltage. is really high, and that causes all sort of havoc. You've got loads of EMC problems with having a really fast rate of change of voltage. Also, the current through a capacitor is C dVdt. So that means, let's say you've got a dVdt of 10 kilovolts per microsecond. It's really weird units, I know. Basically, it means you could have, like, it's not an actual, you'd never have an actual capacitor, well, in hard switching, you'd never have an actual capacitor between the output of your half bridge and ground, let's say. Not ground, DC minus on your HV, but basically you've got loads of like common mode current issues and things like that, because all these tiny capacitances that you don't normally think of, like between the conductor in a cable and the shield around it, suddenly that capacitance, you can end up with like tens or hundreds even amps flowing through the shield of your cable because the phase output capacitively couples. I won't go into any more because it's starting to get a bit boring, but yeah, silicon carbide, you get more problems. I haven't done a lot of stuff with IGBTs, to be honest. That's why I'm looking forward to doing this inverter project, because this is IGBT. Would you enjoy getting insights on other big players' power units, e.g. McLaren, Alpine? McLaren don't make power units, but Mercedes do. The other manufacturers are Mercedes, Ferrari, Honda, who are now with Aston Martin, and Audi, who are going to be with Audi. I would rather be like a consultant that gets to see all of them than work at any specific one, because it's just such cool stuff, and there's all these rumours going around of like, oh, Audi are doing this, Ferrari are doing this, like nothing illegal or anything, obviously, but like different inverter topologies maybe, or like maybe like there's rumours that someone has got like a 100 volt battery, and it's like, oh, how's that going to work? That seems stupid. Like knowing if that's true. I have got some insight on the Mercedes one, because I worked at Mercedes for 2 months as like a summer job a year ago, and then 10 months later I was working at Red Bull. So there was no one at Red Bull that had been at Mercedes as recently as I had, so that was really cool to like compare and see. Yeah, there's some quite interesting differences between those two for the 2026 engines. Well, the hybrid system, I don't know anything about the actual combustion part of it. But yeah, if someone, yeah, like if I could like break into the Ferrari factory and just have a look, like it's not even like we'd copy their ideas. It's probably too late for anyone to make changes now. And also a lot of the teams, like, yeah, a lot of people already have a decent idea of what the other teams are doing, and they don't copy them because they think their idea is better anyway. But yeah, I'd love to like have pictures of all the different all the different inverters, and then like do a video going through like, oh, Ferrari have this, but it's very much not allowed. But yeah, it's so annoying that all the coolest stuff is always hidden from people. I really don't like that. That's why I'm quite keen to like go into sort of research or something like that, where you do cool stuff and you're actually allowed to show people. Anyway, I would like hardly any technical regulatory limits for the teams, just the amount of fuel and safety, for example, but with the obligation to publish all details of their car 13 months after its one use. Yeah, if there was something like, there's still stuff from like the 90s and 80s that teams are keeping secret. It's crazy. If there was something like that where they had to show what they've done, that would be really cool. And yeah, as well, like the cost cap. I'd never worked in F1 before the cost cap, but you can see the effect of the cost cap now. Like, there's things where we're like, oh well, before the cost cap we would have done this, but now, like, I don't know, for example, with like let's say at the start of developing the inverter, you could either do, like there's two different options. Now you have to pick an option and hope it's the right one, whereas in the past they'd have enough money to just do both and compare them at the end. So I think the cost caps really stifled the like innovation and things. So when there's people saying like, oh, there's no innovation in F1 anymore, I think that's largely down to the cost cap. I know why it exists and things, and obviously it's a good thing to keep the sport going, but at the same time, yeah, I hear stories from people that worked in F1 before the cost cap, and it sounds a lot more interesting. Because also they've like banned all the exotic materials as well. So like in the 90s and things, they used to make the engines out of special alloys and like things they use on space rovers, and now they're like, oh, you can only use steel and aluminium, or I don't know. It's mechanical stuff, so I don't actually know, but they do ban anything cool basically. And like the MGUH, that was amazing. This like incredibly power dense motor. The idea of putting a motor inside the turbocharger, and that was like really revolutionary. That's the reason why the current engines are so efficient, or one of the reasons. And they're getting rid of it because it's too complicated for the new manufacturers to make. So yeah, I'm not a fan of the direction F1's going in terms of innovation and things, because they're sort of stuck in this weird thing where they can't go fully electric because no one wants them to, and Formula E have exclusivity on an electric racing series as well, but F1 can't really develop electrical stuff because it's not fully electric. There's not a lot of point developing combustion technology anymore. I know there's like synthetic fuels and people doing that kind of thing, but yeah, I think F1 is in a bit of a tricky situation at the moment, trying to work out what to do to actually stay relevant, and removing all the rules, or not all the rules, but like you say, lots of the rules, they'd become a lot more relevant, because then if a team can spend 5 times as much on developing a new battery, they might develop a new battery that's actually good enough to go in a road car. But right now, like there's a lot of things that used to be custom that now we don't have enough money for because of the cost cap. And if you're just buying off the shelf things, there's no development going on. Yeah, MMCs are really interesting. Basically, a range of switches with a capacitor connected to each switch. Yeah, I'd love to see I'd love to see some more MMCs. Like, see, I think I've only really seen them in pictures, but like when you see these ones with many levels, how all the capacitors are connected up, I can't really imagine doing it on a PCB. Like, it'd be quite funny to see like a really small MMC that's like 12 levels or something, but the whole thing's on a little PCB and it runs at like 50 volts. Maybe that would be a final year project. Do you really like learning things practically or theoretically? Practically, 100%. I think it's better to work it all out yourself. Like, I don't know, it's a bit tricky really, because like a lot of like my, maybe not knowledge, but like the things I know have been like working out myself. Like I nicked a few transistors from school one day, and then to work out how transistors work, I just randomly connected them to a power supply and kept blowing them up until something happened. And then I was like, so this pin does this. And that, like, the intuition that learning that way gives you, like, there's no one can teach well enough to give you that level of intuition, but it's very hard for people to learn that way, especially a topic like electronics, where most people don't really know they're interested until they've already learnt that kind of stuff. So, yeah, but hands-on is very good. Like, my inductor video that I made like a year and a half ago, in that one I go through the equation for an inductor, saying like, you put a voltage across it, the current will go up. Lots of people do that teach about things, like lecturers, and they'll say, so the current rises as you put a voltage across an inductor, but then they don't show it. And it's a bit weird, because you'd think, like, what difference is that going to make? You've told them it's true, but it makes a huge difference. If I say, this is the equation, look at the scope screen, you can see it actually playing out. So that's why every single video, every single video I try and have things to show. I think like when you look at most videos explaining MOSFETs, and it's not like application how to use a MOSFET or anything like that. Most of them are how MOSFETs work. It's a video that's conveniently just over 10 minutes long, and it's just loads of animations of electrons moving around, and they talk about like, and then the band gap expands when you apply the gate voltage, and like, I know obviously there's lots of people interested in the actual physics of how a MOSFET works, but I don't know, I think the application stuff is a lot more interesting, because then I can actually show a MOSFET working. I can't show electrons, I don't want to make animations and things. Anyway, sorry, I keep going on. Sorry, but off topic. What's off topic? There is no topic. These are available in GW ranges with up to 850 kilovolt DC. What is MMCs? And GW is gigawatt. I'm very on it today. Yeah, they're crazy. There's not really much HVDC in the UK. It's disappointing. There's a brilliant website called Open Infrastructure org or map or something like that. It's like a big interactive map of the whole UK where you can see all of the transmission lines and what voltage they are. And according to that, we don't have a single HVDC connection in this country that isn't underground. Because all of our HVDC is coming from neighbouring countries that are offshore, or coming from wind turbines offshore. They just stay underground for a few miles and then go into the converter station. Because I was thinking like, oh, I could go on a road trip to go and see some overhead HVDC, but I don't think there's any in the UK, which is really disappointing. I suspect we will have a big HVDC like spine at some point, because the amount of potential for wind power in Scotland is massive, whereas the number of people there to use it isn't. So I think I can imagine a big like high voltage interconnect between Scotland and London or something. I wouldn't be surprised if you get that actually. It's like they knock down loads of houses and things in the Midlands and in the north just to get this big cable to go to London to power them. That's the kind of thing that happens. F1 would be so much more interesting with more transparency. Also, teams could just build on each other's. Yeah, I think there's not, especially if you have that like 13 months or 2 years or something like that. I can't really. I'm sure there's a downside to it, but I can't really see it. That would be. It would help level out the field as well for people that want fair racing and that kind of thing. Because if Mercedes had to share their like split turbo design and things like that at the end of 2015, by like 2017 all the teams would have it. Yeah, that would be quite good. Yeah, maybe I'll suggest it to Christian. Yeah, I've never spoken to him. But we have these race debriefs. I think all the teams do it. But yeah, after a race weekend, like normally on the Monday or Tuesday, there'll be like a half-hour chat with the team principal, just kind of stood at the front saying, like, basically just telling you what happened in the race. Normally they're not going to give you any insight that's secret, because the people at the factory can't be trusted. He's not going to be like, so we'll be announcing it in a week's time, but Max is actually leaving us. They're not going to say anything like that, because then everyone will just whip out their phone and text everyone. There is FE for electric racing. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I used to sort of slate on Formula E a bit, but it's got pretty cool recently. Like the power of the, what are they called, the Gen 3 Evo or something like that. I'm not very on top of it, I'm not going to lie, but in terms of like the development for power electronics, there's a lot more in Formula E, I think, than there is in F1. A few of the people I work with used to work in Formula E, and it does sound quite cool. And because it's not F1, you've got a bit lower pressure and things, but there's still a lot of money that the manufacturers put in, so you can still do quite a lot of development and things. But the the actual... Wow, someone donated. Thank you. I'll have a look at that in a minute. Otherwise I'll forget what I'm saying. The actual... There's a few different like names for it, but I'll call it like the sort of drive cycle. There's a massive difference between the F1 and the Formula E in terms of how hard the power electronics are worked and things. Because let's say, what's the Formula E like? I think it's like 700 kilowatt peak now or something. But let's say that the Formula E is 500 kilowatt and the F1's 350 kilowatt. But with the F1, because it's hybrid and because you've got a regen to recharge the pack and things like that, you're basically like doing max 350 kilowatt out to accelerate, and then when you're decelerating, you're doing max 350 kilowatt in. You're basically like hitting the power electronics and the motor and everything really hard. Whereas the Formula E might be 500 kilowatt, but you just do 500 kilowatt really briefly, get up to speed, and then just kind of cruise along. The sort of average power is much higher in the F1 power electronics. But obviously the Formula E is a lot more road relevant. So I think it is quite interesting. I should probably watch it a bit more, to be honest, Formula E. I've seen it once live in London. It's quite entertaining to watch. Most people say the cars sound stupid, but I am a big fan of any like electric traction. I love the sound of electric locomotives, electric cars. Most electric cars make these stupid noises when they're going slow. It's a bit weird. It's meant to be regulatory since, at least in the UK, since like 2019 or maybe before that electric cars have to make a noise when they're going below a certain speed so that people can hear them. But like my parents have got a hybrid VW Passat, and that's like 2019 or something. It's completely silent. It's really dangerous. It's just like parked on... We live on a hill. It's parked on the hill, and then they just set off, and it's like the car's rolling uphill. It just starts moving. No noise at all. And we live near like a school as well, so there's all these kids walking around the road, and this car just starts moving in silence. But yeah, it's a shame that EV manufacturers, some of them are so lazy with these noises, and they just sound crap. I think personally the Porsche Taycan, that's the only electric car with, I think, quite a cool noise. I don't know, because a lot of them have speakers as well. I don't know if the Taycan does, but it's quite bassy when you hear it. It sort of sets off and goes whereas most of them just kind of go me. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the Porsche. It's a very nice car. I'm from Pakistan. My father lives in Sheffield, and he just bought an oscilloscope for me, and will send it to me on Monday or Tuesday. Final year of uni, and currently making a Class D audio amp. Wow, that's brilliant! So shout out for Sheffield. You're getting an oscilloscope and you're making a Class D audio amp. Yeah, I'm thinking of doing some kind of Class D video at some point. I think the problem is, because I like to... if I was going to make a video on them, I'd want to make one. But if I make one for the video, I just want to sort of quickly design it in a few evenings and then order it, get it, and demo it. But I just know it would take more than one iteration to make an audio amp that's not just like psst, like switching noise and stuff all the time. But yeah, making one, I think I'd quite like to do a gallium nitride one, because then I can cover gallium nitride and Class D amps. But please tell me more about your Class D project, because that sounds quite interesting. And what kind of scope is it? I need like coloured names on people, so that when someone says something that relates back to something they said earlier, I don't have to try and read all the names. For the ones my uni developed, this is MMC guy. They're just slottable cards. Oh, that's cool. I guess it makes replacing it quite simple as well. I know the Siemens one is his separate FPGA controller per phase leg. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it seems like FPGAs are the way that most PWM switching control is going. I'm a bit scared of them, to be honest. I'm more of a microcontroller person, but I'm sure at some point I'll have to use one. I think because a lot of them come in BGA package as well, it's not particularly useful for us hobbyists. electronics grow on you, man. Currently in the final year of uni, and I'm so passionate to do stuff, it's crazy. Yeah, it's definitely one of these things that grows on you. There's, like, I remember when I was looking forward to starting uni because I thought, like, oh, everyone on the course is going to be really into it and things. And then I just sort of everyone went around doing all this small talk shit, saying, where are you from? I don't care about that. I just went around everyone saying, why are you doing this course? It's like I was interviewing them. And they were all just like, I don't know. My parents said I'd like it. And that kind of thing. But yeah, I think people get more into electronics as they go. But loads of people just don't know what it is. Like, I think probably my year at uni, there's like maybe 200 people, and I reckon probably like 5 of them, maybe 10 at most, had done any electronics before coming to uni. But by the end, you see people doing their final year projects, and maybe you've gone from 5% of people being interested to like 10% of people being interested. I do find the enthusiasm to be lacking a bit at uni. It's definitely not just my uni. I think that's everywhere, and that's why I'm trying to appeal to younger audience, to try and get people more into it. And that's why I like doing the YouTube, because I think about becoming like a uni teacher, but I don't really want to stand in front of a crowd of people when half of them aren't interested. But I like to think I'm such a charismatic character that I can get people interested. So that's why I'd quite like to try and do that kind of thing. Yo, bro. I started electronic engineering after dropping off of biology. Good decision. No, I'm not very good at biology. And I can say you helped me lots to learn more about myself, that I love electric engineering. Yes, everyone loves electrical engineering deep down. It's just that some people aren't strong enough to find the feeling. So I'm glad you did. Well done. Will we get alive at 50k or sooner? I don't know. I've been compensating. I've been considering doing a live stream for a while. I was gonna do one. I wanted to do it on Friday, because then there's no problem with if I like have to stay up late or anything. Normally Saturday I'm working on a video, but then I clicked go live, and then YouTube said you can go live in 24 hours. Some kind of weird, like, I guess anti-spam or something like that. And then last Friday I was busy. So yeah, and this one happened to sort of line up with 30k. And I was planning to do more depending on how this one goes. It seems to be going all right. So 50k, maybe 40k, maybe like every 10k or something. Because the rate I'm gaining subscribers is slowing down, so 50k would probably be in quite a while. I've set myself the goal of getting 100k before I leave Red Bull, so that I can bring in my subscriber thing and say this is why I haven't been doing much work, because I've been focusing on more exciting things. But I think that's probably quite unlikely. But 50k would be very, very nice. I think for me 10k was... but yeah, I need to try and get more subscribers somehow. I think one thing I've noticed is I think my viewers, maybe you guys aren't the average viewer, not particularly interested in automotive, like electric cars. I think a lot of people aren't interested in electric cars, which is annoying because I've got quite a lot of electric car content planned. But if it's not going to do very well, that's not great, because my plan at the moment is basically all the money I get from YouTube, I was going to buy a cheap electric car and then make loads of videos about like modifying it, making a custom battery monitoring system for it, making a custom inverter for a electric car, basically like how to build your own electric car. But if you guys aren't interested in electric cars, then it's not going to go very well. I've already spent hundreds of pounds on the motor and inverter from a Renault Zoe, so the idea is to buy a broken Renault Zoe next year once I have a driveway, and then fit them into it. But I can't really, unless I'm gonna get enough money from the car videos. That's the thing. I don't really want to do other videos, get the money, and then spend the money on videos no one wants to watch. But I don't know, because my videos do actually cost quite a bit to make, because I want to always have something to show. Like I said in the capacitor video, I spent over £100 on capacitors just to show them. It achieves nothing in the video. I could just get all the data from the internet, from the data sheets or something. And the same with this video I'm doing now, make linear power supply. That was probably £60 of parts just to show something that that I don't need to build. So yeah, if you're sort of watching me and then an advert comes up in the middle of the video, I'm not I'm not spending the money on like takeaways or anything. All the money I'm getting is going into videos or things for videos. Anyway, sorry, I'm really falling behind here. I'm first year now. We started 2 weeks ago. That's exciting. How are you finding it? Please let me know. This was fun. Will you do 150k? I've already replied to that. Thank you very much for the money. I'm going to buy some crap for a future video with that. Hi there from Greece. Nice to be a subscriber. Your channel is very interesting. Thank you. Yeah, it's quite cool that you get people from places like other countries and things like that. I don't really, well, since I started uni, I've interacted with more foreigners. I can't remember what you're supposed to call people from other countries. It's not foreigners, is it? I don't know. But yeah, there's a girl at work from Greece. She's always in a coat because it's cold here. That's my observation. I don't really talk to people. First dono. Yep. If you have any info, can you talk a little bit about the job market of power electronics? I don't really have a lot of info, to be honest. I'm trying to do more like networking at the moment, like talking to people from companies. I find working at Red Bull is quite helpful because we'll sometimes have like someone from a company come and visit us to try and sell us some special resistors or something, I don't know. And the YouTube helps as well, actually. I've been amazed that like in the capacitor video, I covered some special capacitors by a company called Polycharge. And basically I just randomly emailed them and said like, oh, I've got a YouTube channel, can I have some capacitors? And they were like, yeah, of course. And it's crazy that people actually care. And that's the main reason I want subscribers, is so that I can say to a company, like, I've got 30,000 subscribers, and they'll be like, oh, here's some whatever. So yeah, make sure you subscribe if you want me to get given cool stuff. I'm currently talking to a company that makes something, and if I have more subscribers, they're more likely to give me something. I find I do get emails from companies saying like, oh, would you want to review our product? I think as a general like rule of thumb, if any of you like have YouTube channels or whatever, if the company contacts you, they're probably not going to offer anything good. You want to contact the companies. If you're ever like thinking, oh, that's a really cool thing, I wish I had one, and you've got like a YouTube channel or something, you contact them. And smaller companies is probably better as well. Like I think if I contact like, what's a big electronics company, like ST, and say, can I have some chips? They'll be like, who are you? Anyway, I'll stop mumbling. I'm going to give you all another advert and mute the microphone this time because I have a very small bladder. Hello. I have realised I've been going for more than 2 hours now. I did sort of think that this might happen, that if people just keep interacting on the stream, there'll never be like a time to end. But I can already feel my throat going a little bit, so that might be the reason to end it. But not yet, don't worry. Thank you for the other donation, Conservator. What was the other person called? Stylofoam. I like that name. For the video fund. Yeah, my dad's not particularly happy about it because my parents, when I've mentioned the channel in the past, and they're old, they don't really know anything about YouTube. I'd say like, I've got 1,000 subscribers, and they'd be like, that's great, and to them it's like 1,000 friends on Facebook. And then I got to the monetization threshold and showed my phone, and I was like, look, money. And at that point I only said like £5 or something, but then suddenly their ears pricked up and they were like, oh, maybe he's not wasting his time. But yeah, I think they'd rather I don't know, save the money or whatever. But I've made a bank account just for YouTube. So any money I get from YouTube, or like directly or indirectly, just goes into that, and that is just for buying shit. It's great because like it's not a crazy amount of money I'm getting or anything, but it's enough that I don't have to worry about like oh, I don't want to spend £100 on this component and then maybe I won't be able to use it, or I might break it or something like that. It's just takes the pressure off your shoulders of like, this is my hard-earned money. This is more like, this money is just for projects. I'm never going to use it on anything else. So yeah, thank you very much for all watching and for these donations and things, because they mean I can do any project I want, well, within reason, and show you guys. So that basically the more money I get, the more cool things I can teach you about. But yeah, anyway, sorry about rambling again. I'm using OBS for this, and I've got OBS on one side and I've got YouTube on the other, and YouTube shows me like a little feed of the stream as well, and that just seems to be getting more and more laggy. But I don't think that latency is translating to what you guys are seeing, because sometimes in the chat you'll react to something before it appears on my little feed, so I don't know why my little feed's delayed. I have got quite poor internet here, but I don't know. Anyway, oh, I've missed so much chat. It's like a gamer with the chat. Yeah, so the job market, I don't really have much I can offer really. I've only ever applied for 2 jobs. That was at Mercedes and then at Red Bull, and I got them. So I don't really know. I think there's a decent amount of jobs going around. So yeah, I think it's the kind of thing, because you look at like the graduates from uni from EEE degrees, and basically there's a certain level that's the degree level. 90%, 95% are at the degree level. If you're above that, you can get any job you want, pretty much. If you're at uni, make sure you do something extracurricular. If you're watching this, I'm sure you probably do your own projects or Formula Student or something like that. If you want to work in F1, definitely Formula Student. I think Red Bull don't really even consider you if you're not Formula Student. But yeah, just if you're beyond standard, because all EEE courses in the UK, you come out and you're pretty much useless. It's doing your own projects is where you'll learn things. Anyway, I've got to try and speak quicker because I'm lagging behind. Formula E has something like fan boost. I don't like that at all. Yeah, I don't like that. They've got the weird thing where, like, if you go round, I don't know, they had it when I saw it in London. Like, if you took a bad line on a corner, there was like a little thing you ran over, like just like Mario Kart, you know, where like You can either go the short route or you can go the long route and get the boosts. That's all just stupid. I don't understand. I don't think there's anyone that's appealing to. But the engineering for Formula E is very interesting. I was doing some stuff for Formula Student. We were getting our motors, testing our motors at a place that tests motors and drivetrains, and Jaguar, an unnamed Formula E team was testing their drivetrain there. So they had like motor, gearbox, differential connected up to these two big motors that were where the wheels would be, and it was all a dyno. That was very cool to see. It was just parked up. We didn't get to hear it running or anything, but yeah, the Formula E stuff is very interesting. Have you ever been curious to experiment with older electronics like vacuum tubes? I have, yeah. I have quite a few vacuum tubes. Here are two from... I've got a shelf over there of cool things, but unfortunately I can't show you it because there's some things that are a little bit too cool to show, and could get me in trouble. But these are on it, and I can show you these. So yeah, these are just vacuum tubes. I'm not going to lie. I mean valves, because I'm British. I'm not going to lie, I don't know a lot about them. I've watched enough Mr. Carlson to know sort of vaguely how they work. But I have considered a few times making like a video like using valves for power electronics and like controlling them like a MOSFET with PWM and things. But no, they've got to run at high voltage and heater. They've got the little heater thing inside them. They're very weird. I'd like to talk to someone that knows about them, but even the oldest teachers at uni, I say, do you know anything about valves? And they're like, no. So, yeah, but other older electronics, like I've got something quite cool here that I've been thinking about making a video on for a while, so it's just been floating around my desk. This is a rotary transformer, or I'd call it a rotary DC to DC converter. So this is from like the 50s or 60s. This is from an old aircraft, maybe it's from a Spitfire or something. I think probably a bit too modern for that. But in the olden days, before all this switch mode stuff with MOSFETs and IGBTs and even bipolar transistors, the simplest way that they had to go from one DC voltage to another was this, which is essentially a motor connected to a generator, both DC. So there's one commutator here. This is the input. You put in 27.5 volts, and then there's two commutators here for the two outputs, which are 440 volts and 140 volts. So, yeah, let me know if you really want me to do a video on this, and maybe I can do it. But I don't really know what to say about it. I can sort of show it and things, but yeah. But that's the kind of thing I buy from the radio rallies. I'm kind of setting up my own electronics museum. I've got a lot of very old stuff like that, but I don't really know how to ever show it to anybody unless I make videos about it. But I feel like even just with the stuff I have in my lab and at home in my like bulk storage room, I'll call it, I could make like hundreds of videos. Like these boxes behind me, most of these top ones don't have much in. They've just got like general components. I was very lucky that when I left secondary school, they'd stopped teaching electronics there a few years before, and I said, can I have all of your electronics stuff? And they said, go on then. So I got thousands of, it's all like old through-hole stuff, but like thousands of capacitors, thousands of resistors, like chips. I'll show you, for example, this box. I'm also very, I think probably most engineers are like this, but very keen on sort of sorting things and labelling things, but hopefully I won't tip this up. This box, see all the ICs in it? And I've got 2 more boxes. They're all like 555s, comparators, op amps, things like that. I don't really use them very much. I don't know what to do with them. If I had a lot of time on my hands, I could individually package them and sell them on eBay for £3 each. But relays as well, diodes, inductors, LEDs. I've got thousands of all of them. And the problem is, it's very easy to spend more on storage than you do on the things in the storage. So like, I've got 3 of these blue shelves. They were like 80 quid each. These boxes are like 40 quid each, and what's in them is pretty much worthless. Bolts, banana connectors, bigger relays. I've got 4 different boxes of relays for 4 different sizes, right from like little signal relays to like HV contactors. Audio connectors. Down here I've got a box just for current sensors, which I was going to show you. I don't know if I'll ever have time for that now. More relays, dev kits, so that's full of like Arduinos and STM32 boards and things. I've got boxes back here, batteries, small solar panels. I've got a really big solar panel at home I bought to play with. I've got multimeters. I've got a big box at home just of handheld multimeters. Rotary encoders, power modules, plugs, PC components. Small motors, medium motors, large motors, capacitors. I've got like that big one I showed. Sorry, I'm really falling behind. But anyway, yeah. Why was I talking about components from school? We were just talking about old things, weren't we? Oh yes, I was saying how I could make many videos about the things I've got. Yeah, most of my actual like items, like test equipment or motors or whatever, they're still at home. I've mostly just got components with me. And what's funny is I've got all of the components in this shelf here, right the way from top to bottom. These drawers full of components. All the boxes on this shelf full of components, but all I ever use at the moment is that box. Don't rob me, because that one has got the surface mount stuff in. But yeah, it's a little bit excessive, but I think another engineer problem is being a massive hoarder and never selling anything. So yeah, heat sinks, power supplies, inverter components, printer ink, bags, projects. That's another exciting box. Anyway, sorry, I'll move on. I think DC transmission has many advantages over traditional AC. So many losses with AC transmission, perhaps interconnecting DC could be simpler. I know that old school transformers are simple and robust. Yeah, I think it's just that robustness that DC's better for the transmission, but then especially if you've got like distribution and you've got some big circuit that might have like 50 transformers on it, swap that for 50 DC to DC converters or 50 inverters, I think would be crazy. But yeah, I'm hoping at some point in the UK we get more high voltage and things, because we've been at 400 kV AC as our highest for many years, and it'd be cool if we could like get something like China have, like they've got over a megavolt. Crazy. Yeah, I'm in year in research for making Class D amp, and trust me, Pakistan is not an easy place to get components. Oof. Yeah, I can imagine. That must be quite tricky. A Class D amp is just a type of single-phase inverter, but the speaker is the motor. Yeah, I know. It's funny how all these circuits are they're just the same. Yeah, I've seen multi-phase. Yeah, because a Class D amp's kind of just like a buck converter, and you can get multi-phase is sometimes used to get better response, and well, the reasons that multi-phase is ever used. But yeah, there is, in the video where I explained my inverter, at the end I plug it into a speaker and it sounds terrible because it's switching so slow. But yeah, that's my plan with the Renault Zoe inverter. I don't want to make the car any faster because it's 0 to 60 in like 8 seconds. That's plenty fast enough for me. I think 10 seconds is the perfect 0 to 60 time in my opinion. Something with 100 kilowatts power and that weighs 1 ton. I know that would be a lot quicker, but I think that's the perfect weight. Everything's way too fast now. Anyway, so got onto cars. But yeah, that's my plan with the Zoe, is I want to control it with the modulation strategies they use in electric locomotives. So it'll sound nice, because that's what engineers care about. This seems like a relaxed Friday evening chat with friends. Oh, thank you. Yeah, maybe I will end up doing more streams, because I've moved. Red Bull's based in Milton Keynes, and if you're not from the UK, it's quite, well, it's not that far from where I'm from in the north, but it's far enough that I don't really see any of my acquaintances, and I'm not particularly talkative at work, so I've never socialised with any of my work colleagues. But yeah. Actually, yeah. Do people want to say where they're from? I'm quite intrigued. It might be a few minutes before I get to what you've said, though. I'm very interested in EV electronics. Brilliant. That is wonderful. Hopefully we can have more viewers like yourself. If you are going ground up for an EV, I am quite interested in it. That's good. Yeah, I think the only things that I wouldn't change, anything that would require mechanical changes. So the motor would stay the same. The battery, the general battery pack would stay the same. I could probably redo the battery management system. And the inverter can be completely redone except the power module, because that sits with coolant flowing through it. So if I like got a different power module, it wouldn't fit nicely. But I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to get some kind of mechanic person to weld new motors in and things, but also they're the expensive bits. So yeah, but essentially ground up, because also there's lots of people don't like EVs because of all the stuff that the manufacturers are doing now, making it so like it's all, I don't know, smartphone controlled, or you can't replace something or the car will immobilize itself. If you just cut out all the electronics and put in your own, there's none of those problems, and people will like electric cars more. And I want to show how simple it is to make a car. Well, maybe I'm being a bit optimistic, but I think it's probably, as far as I can tell, maybe not to make it completely legal and things, or safe, but to make an electric car that will still pass the MOT, has working indicators and things, and drives, is quite simple, especially if you use off-the-shelf parts. Great videos, mate. Love your style. I am a very stylish person, thank you very much. Do a collab with Rich Rebuilds. I think I've heard of him, so I don't watch much car stuff. I watch Engineering Explained, he's very good. Oh, I've never watched Rich Rebuilds, I do apologise. Why not use Patreon? It's that same thing, I mentioned it before, maybe you weren't here. I don't want to put a paywall in front of like teaching. If I had time to make more videos, I would make more videos and put them on YouTube. Even, like, to me, I don't really understand, like, do you really get more money from a Patreon? If I make, let's say I make a video about Arduinos. If I put it on YouTube, let's say it gets 100,000 views. If I put it on Patreon, maybe I've got 1,000 paying people, so they're paying 100 times more. I know YouTube people, like, per view, you're not getting much on ads, but I don't know. The whole reason I do this is to get more people interested in electronics and to broaden, like, the knowledge of people, and like, so I don't agree with the idea of having anything that people have to pay for. I think already even other channels on YouTube, there's just this feeling. I've got quite a lot of comments saying it, that like there's this idea that it sort of seems like people are gatekeeping electronics, like the way that people explain things and talk about things, like making things unnecessarily complicated. Whereas like I've just set out from the start if something's simple, I'll make it simple. It's like I sit in lectures quite a lot at uni with the teacher at the front talking about something, and I'm just sort of sitting there thinking like, oh, why are you making this so complicated? Like this, that you could make this so much simpler, but they just explain it in a bad way that then puts everyone off. But anyway, OMG, reason to unsub. What was the reason? I'm sorry. What did I do? So the oscilloscope is Rigol DHO914. Oh, is that their new? That's the new one, isn't it? 4-channel 1.25. I think it is, isn't it? Is it the Vesa mount one? Yeah, they're really nice. And you've got the one with the logic analyzer as well. Yeah, a friend has that. That's probably, I will probably get one of those at some point, mostly because of the HDMI output, which is really useful for videos. I mentioned that before. I just need to know what I can use to capture the footage as well. But yeah, they're really, I guess they're the successor to the 1054Z that I've got. I don't like, they're a little bit like a toy, but they're really good for the money. Hi, I want to build coil gun accelerator. That's funny, I was talking about that slightly earlier. Which will be based on high current copper lines, 10 pieces 60 amps each. I think you can do more current than that. Which configuration of coil layers will be best for that in your opinion? What do you mean by configuration of coil layers? And why are you only doing 60 amps? Because a coil gun, you've just got short pulse of current, so you could have cable that will take 60 amps. You could probably put 600 amps through it. Like at work, I do quite a lot of something called double pulse testing, which you use to test MOSFETs and things. And basically, obviously, PWM, you're constantly turning them on and off. The idea with double pulse testing is that by turning them on and off for a set amount of time twice, you can look at both the turning on and turning off transitions and do analysis and things. And essentially, you've got your switching loss when you're turning it on and off. You can just turn it on and off once, work out the loss from that, and then multiply it by how many times you're switching to get the switching loss. It sounds like it wouldn't work, but it does actually work surprisingly well. And for that, I've got an inductor that's made from 1mm squared cable. So you might normally put 10 amps through that at most. I put 3,000 amps through that a few weeks ago, doing a particular test. It doesn't break. It's quite easy to calculate actually. You can look at the resistivity of copper to work out how much power you're dissipating in your wire. Then you can look at the density of copper to work out how much weight is in that copper. And then you can look at the, what's it called? Thermal mass, it's got a proper name. The specific heat of copper to see how much it'll heat up from a certain amount of energy. And basically from that you can say, right, so I've got this diameter wire. It's rated for 60 amps continuous. If my pulse is only 1 millisecond, I can put 800 amps through it and it'll heat up by 30 degrees. And then you'll have to wait a while for it to cool down, obviously. So you'll have to think about that. But It's amazing how much power you can put through thin wire if it's for a short time. Sorry, I went off topic again. What sort of equipment / gadget you want the most at the minute? Working in power electronics / electric machine lab full time. We scrap loads of expensive stuff. Oh, all these companies that throw away nice things just, they send shivers through me. It's just, I think the thing I find hardest is if I know, let's say I know someone who's works at a company and they throw things out and they're like, oh, I'll keep an eye out, what do you want me to find? And I'm just like, everything. But no, specific thing I'm looking for most at the moment, it was an LCR meter, but I've now got this little handheld one, and to be honest, that satisfies most of my requirements. I would like a proper one, but the main thing I need right now is an electronic load. It's one of these things where, like, I mention it to people and they're like, oh, that's a great project, but I need it to make videos. I don't want to make a project. I don't want to do a long-term project or even short-term. I just want an electronic load. Because like a video I'm doing this weekend, making a linear power supply, it's a bit annoying. I want to show the regulation, and it would be really nice if I could make a plot saying, here's how the voltage changes from this open loop regulator between 0 amps and 10 amps output. But I can't. Luckily I have a lot of high power resistors. I can swap them in and out. But yeah, an electronic load is 100% the thing I'm wanting at the moment. And I mean, I could just buy one, to be honest, but I'd rather complain about not having one. Yes, it's common that YouTubers are laggy for the creator on live streams. I hope the chat's not lagging too much for me. I think when you press send, it comes to me pretty quick. I think the delay is mostly my footage getting to you. I have 3 options, actually. It's quite interesting, the things you have on YouTube, options-wise. Yeah, you can pick different latency. So there's slow, I think it's called like normal, fast, and very fast, or something like that. It's basically, the lower the latency, the lower the quality. So I've gone for the default, which is fast. Because I didn't want crap quality if I wanted to show something. And I thought there was no point going for the high quality one, because this webcam's really crap. It's amazing how this webcam's 720p. Yes, 720p. And the footage I use for the videos is only 1080p. But when you're shooting with a big sensor through a proper lens, probably a bit less compressed, it just looks so much nicer. I find that funny, like how bitrate and resolution and things don't make as much difference as just having a proper sized sensor and a big lens. Because like my phone shoots 4K 60 FPS super high bitrate, like it's like 6 times the bitrate of the camera I use, but the camera looks so much nicer footage because it's through a big chunky lens. So yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that one. Because when I started getting money from YouTube, I was like, oh, I'll buy a nicer camera, but I'm fine with the one I've got, really. If it's higher bitrate, then the laptop won't be able to cope. Ow, what could be that cool on that shelf? Oh, what could be that cool on that shelf? I don't know what you mean. Is everything else is through hole? If you're talking about these things, it's all through hole, because it's all from, I guess, probably like the 90s. Oh, either I'm lagging or you're very behind on chat. That comment was responding to stuff you stating you only have. Yes, I am personally very behind on chat. I'm sorry, I just keep talking too much. Also, I don't want to catch up because then there's an awkward silence when I'm waiting for someone to say something. Yeah, I have a lot of through-hole stuff, which I don't really use a lot. I should probably like donate it to a school or something, but I don't think any schools are really teaching electronics much anymore. I don't really know what to do with it. Yeah, I mean, it's still useful stuff. But yeah, only one box of surface mount. To be honest, since I moved here a few months ago, all the surface mount stuff I've bought has just distributed itself over the floor. So I need to do a bit of a tidy at some point. I've just got like Mauser boxes half opened everywhere, because pretty much every video I'll do a Mauser order like 10 or something, use one in the video and then just toss it back in the box. More streams sounds good. Here from India. Oh yes, now I've caught up with everyone telling me where they're from. India, there's a lot of people in India. North of Mexico. I suppose that's North Mexico, not the US. North of Mexico. Mexico and India, they're quite far apart. North Lincolnshire, there we go. I always, when I go to Lidl, there's 3 sausages. There's Cumberland sausages, which I used to get all the time. And then there's ones they just call pork sausages, which I now get, because I used to get Cumberland ones, because I like the Lake District. But I found them a little bit like spicy, I guess it's something they add. The pork sausages are nice and just basic. But the Lincolnshire sausages, I've been a bit scared to try, because don't they have like beetroot in or something? You could have it up on Patreon for a week and then go public on YouTube. But who? I don't understand who. I'm sure I probably shouldn't be saying this, but like, is it really worth paying to see a video a week early? That's not, like, what's the benefit of getting it a week early? I don't understand. And I was thinking, like, if you have a Patreon, then people can do like more video request or something, but I don't know. At the moment I'm just sort of doing the videos that I think would be interesting, which is sort of a bit hit or miss. If I get a lot of people requesting something on YouTube, I'm a lot more likely to do it than if someone just sends me a PayPal donation and says, make this video, if I don't think it'll do well. Not because I don't care about the money I'm getting from that video, but if one person wants a video on something, then I'm not going to make it, because it won't really benefit other people. Patreon is just a voluntary monthly subscription to support you. It's not a paywall. Yeah, maybe I'm a little bit aggressive towards it. But what? Say I could do a Patreon, but then not put anything on it? I don't know. Because I thought I've got a little PayPal link that I put. I'm sure, I know people prefer Patreon to PayPal, but I thought then if anyone feels obliged to give like a small donation and they don't want it going to Google or whoever is in charge of Patreon, they can just put it there, and then all of it. Well, I guess PayPal take a tiny amount, but I thought that would be fine. But please educate me more on Patreon, because I've never like signed up for anyone's Patreon. I don't really know how it works, but at the moment, if I have time to make a video, I will make the video for YouTube, so it wouldn't be anything exclusive. But yeah, also I feel a bit bad taking people's money. Like, I don't know, let's say it's like £5 a month. You could make a cool project for that. Well, maybe not £5 a month. After a year, you could make a cool project. You could give Patreon... Oh, everyone is talking about Patreon. You could give Patreons some perks like early views, but you don't have to. Yeah, I mean, would anybody here appreciate seeing a video earlier? Can somebody tell me what the point of that is? Then maybe I'd do that, but yeah. Yeah, I'd like to give perks, but I can't really think of any perks that wouldn't take time away from making other videos. I don't mind watching ads if I get free content to learn the hobby. Thank you. I bet he's never going to catch up with the comments. Oh, I'm catching up. Before I wasn't even on the same... Before I was like scrolled up. I'm getting dangerously close to the bottom now. I'll have to delve into one of my boxes if I get to the bottom, or maybe go to bed. Dun, dun, dun. Rygol are good for the money, but are the the encoders! I know the temptation to just open it and like find some compatible nice ones. It's the velocity control's so dodgy. You turn it a little bit faster and it just like shoots off the screen. And then also like I get it where if I just turn it by one like notch on some of them, you turn it and it zooms the other way, and I'm like, did I just turn it the wrong way? And then you keep turning it that way, and then it starts zooming the right way. Yeah, really weird. Actually, someone has just asked me something, so I'll respond to that and then say the thing. Whatever. Do you have an Instagram account? I do. It is linked basically everywhere. If you go to my channel homepage, there should be a link. I think in the description of this stream there's a link as well. In my default description that appears in all my videos. Hopefully there's a working link to the Instagram. I don't put a lot on there. I quite like doing Instagram stories. I'll put a picture of like whatever video I'm working on. Maybe do a poll or something, but yeah, but I did have someone a few weeks ago ask me if I have a Discord and then say I should make a Discord like channel. What do you folks think about that? Do you think I should do that? Is there much effort in maintaining that, or can I just set it up and then let everyone chat? I'm also slightly worried that I'd get a bit carried away with it, and like if I just spend every evening just on it, responding to people and chatting to people, which maybe that's a good thing, it's to be social, but I don't know. Yes. Oh, I have to go. Thanks for the chat. Yes, thank you, Conservator, for the money and for chatting so much. You will be sorely missed. Do you have an Instagram account? The aircraft generator looks to have the voltage to power a tube. 5 to 12 volts for heater elements. Yes, I think it is probably that age. I think if you look underneath the motor, there's actually a little vacuum tube valve that I guess is some kind of regulator. Yeah, stream is going to end and we'll sit here for our replies. Oh, I'm not going to end the stream if I don't catch up. It's getting dangerously close. There's just one line. Just one line comments now. The early worm gets eaten first. Exactly. You don't want to be early to see a video, but you do want to make sure you watch it and like it, and leave a comment, and subscribe, and ring the bell. Sausage reviews when? Yeah, I ran out of sausages yesterday. I was going through a load of microwaved sausages, and I ran out. So it's just toast for dinner today. I'm very low on food. I don't do very well with food. I'm afraid, people. Don't ask me anything about food, as Ben knows. Can I text you on Insta to connect? You can DM me on Instagram. It depends what you mean by connect. Feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. Yeah. I put a link to my LinkedIn on the YouTube homepage, like the channel page, and I've got so many people following me. I presume it's all from that. But it's quite cool. It's a bit like on Instagram when someone's got way more followers than they're following, and it's like, oh, you're popular. I feel like that on LinkedIn. Yeah, I have people like often say very negative things about LinkedIn, because obviously most people that use it are just twats, and they're like, I would like to announce that I have recently become an amazing person, achieving this amazing job, whatever. But I basically just follow companies on it, so it's quite interesting. You see when they've got job offerings, and you see like, I don't know. I follow some train companies. I see when they have recently renewed some train deal, or I don't know. I quite like LinkedIn. For me, LinkedIn is my Snapchat. Yeah. Do you have a GF? No, I don't. I just don't know if I have the time for one right now. In my experience, it's a big time thing. Yeah. I was thinking of like, if I felt inclined to get to one of these dating applications, put like a thing that just says, I will only talk to you on Friday evenings. I hope that's okay. And then if that's not okay, then they don't have to swipe whichever way it is. But no, I don't think that's likely anytime soon. Cherry rig everything, converted a Hummer to electric. Seen that. I've seen the thumbnail. That's the case for most YouTube videos. I see the thumbnail and then that's it. But no, that sounds quite cool. I'm sure he did a good job. He's got plenty of money to do it properly. Yeah. Yes, please create a Discord channel. It would help most of us motivated to be productive. Oh, does someone want to make it for me? Also, I should go to bed. It's 2:45 a.m. in India. I'm still confused. So now it's 2:45 there, but it's 10:15 here. I thought time zones were always an hour, not half an hour. Am I really stupid? I hope I'm not. It's just electronics. That's all I can do. People, geography, history, biology. I don't know. Whatever other finance, other things. Nah. Discord is nice. You'd want some friends to be moderators. It's invite only, so generally it's okay. Yeah, I'm on the Marco Reps Discord. That seems like a very nice place. He's brilliant. But I don't really have time to ever do anything on that. I think I said hi and that's it. Some people post a lot, others not so much. I'd have to come up with a name for it as well. I mean, luckily it wouldn't be called like Fred's Discord. It would be Electruck 240. I don't want it to be like my Discord. I want it to just be like a Discord. Anyway, people usually make a space for those that like to post memes. Yes, any Discord thing. I don't do Discord much, but I like to scroll through the memes people post. Like if it's electronic triple E memes. But yeah, projects would be cool. But it's as much work as you want it to be. Maybe I'll do a Discord at some point. Are you on the forum at EEV blog? No, I'm not. I've never really been on it. Occasionally I've searched things on the web and it's come up with a link to that and I've quickly scrolled through for my answer, but no, I'm not much of a forum user. No. What is Discord? It's social media for gamers, basically. Yeah, LinkedIn is cool. It is cool. You need a standard skateboard design for electric cars. So different manufacturers use the same standard platform, especially for smaller, cheaper electric cars. Yeah, that's definitely the way it's going. Is I mean, we already had it with like a VW Group, that you buy a VW or an Audi or a Skoda or a Lamborghini, and they've all got the same engine, and the same like underpinnings. But it's becoming even more of a thing with electric cars, which is sort of a shame from the engineering side, because instead of having like 30 different car companies you could go and work for to design an inverter, you've now got 5. But it makes things more affordable, and obviously there's many reasons for it. But yeah, I don't like the way that the early electric cars are quite nice. Like this Renault I've been playing with, or the parts from it, very like repairable, easy to work on, easy to modify, which I'm particularly keen on. But the new things, they're all just starting to weld everything together, and there are like the power module in the inverter. There are benefits to welding it. You can get lower parasitics. You can switch faster, better efficiency. But things like welding the cells together, or welding bus bars onto cells, I don't know. There's less justification for that, I think, apart from just being irritating. When did you find EEV blog on YouTube? Oh, I don't know. Big Clive was definitely the first, like, well, Photonic Induction was the first electronics person I watched, like, many years ago. Then I sort of, like, went through phases of, like, binging people. So then I watched, like, a lot of Big Clive. Maybe, like, 5 years ago. Then I watched a lot of EEV blog. So maybe, like, it's still before uni. So when I was in sixth form, so maybe 2020, around then. And again, then I sort of stopped watching him. And yeah, since I've been at uni, I haven't really watched a lot. I watch Marco Reps, but not his like CNC stuff. I mean, he doesn't really do any power electronics, which is my main thing, but I find it very entertaining. And if Photonic Induction uploads again, I'd watch him as well. And there's rumours that he might. There are some sub-hour slot time zones. Weird. Sorry if you live in one of those places. It's not you that's weird, it's the time zones. I guess I'm just like a privileged Brit that thinks we live in the centre of the universe. But I apologise for being British. Hi, just popped in to say how much I enjoy your videos. They have a different style to most other electronics channels, which makes them very easy to digest. Thanks. Yeah, thank you very much. I do notice that the way I like cover things and explain things is quite different. I don't really know why, because to me the way I explain things is just like the logical way too. But yeah, I'm glad it's not just the same old, because a lot of these electronics channels I think are quite similar, especially the ones with like between maybe 100k and 1 million subs. Like they've even got the same accent, some of them. Just kind of like churning out videos of like Arduino projects and like I've been sponsored by this online store and that kind of thing. And I don't know, I try to keep things a little bit different. Also, interesting find recently was Resicism. Is that the name of a YouTube channel? Oh, 57k subs. That's not fair. If this is the right one. Looks quite interesting. I think I probably pronounced it wrong as well. Good night from India. Goodbye. His style is mostly... Oh, whoops, I keep clicking on things. His style is mostly open, start-stop like Big Clive. Doesn't put on fake airs for the show. What does that word mean? A river in the north of England. Ah, something to do with arrogance. Yeah, the previous 2 attempts I've had at this channel, I've always been afraid of like having a video title like everything about this, or like basically just saying like I know everything and I'm going to teach you this. But I've the last year or 2 I've gained a lot of confidence in my own knowledge, and maybe overconfidence, but I feel a bit more comfortable now on certain topics giving something a title like that, which seems to be what YouTube viewers want. They don't want a video that says 1 hour of me playing with MOSFETs. They want one, even if it's the same video, they want a title that says everything you could possibly ever want to know about MOSFETs. But yeah, there is a lot of people that like, yeah, when I talk to other students, it seems like most other students that are good or knowledgeable, it's like they can't help themselves but try and use all these long, fancy show-off words, I call them. And it's like, it just makes it... like, that's the kind of gatekeeping I was talking about earlier, is like... just using all these words unnecessarily, I think, that just sort of scares people off. And they think, oh, it makes me sound really clever if I say all these words. But it's like, yeah, there was something, the way that I want to do the modulation for the IGBTs on the inverter for my Renault Zoe is sort of similar to what electric trains do. And the sort of simplest, well, not simplest, but the most concise way to explain how that works is synchronization of the carrier to a harmonic of the fundamental. And if I say that to someone, that's the kind of thing they'd say. They'd say, oh, I'm going to synchronize my carrier to a harmonic of the fundamental, because they think that makes people think they sound clever, but it doesn't. It just makes you sound like a wanker. So instead, if I was talking to anyone that I thought might not know what one of those words mean, if there's any doubt in your head that someone might not know what one of these big words means, don't say it. It just makes you sound like a tosser. There's no problem with saying 10 words instead of 1 if it means more people understand you. Anyway, sorry. I should probably go soon because I think I'm starting to get into a bit of a rambly phase. Which university you graduated from in UK? I haven't graduated yet. I've done 3 years at university. Now I'm doing 1 year working, and then I do 1 final year at university. So it's sort of 5 years total, 4 years at uni. And I am at the University of Nottingham, which I think in the UK there's not like a particular uni that stands out for electronics or power electronics or anything like that. When I applied for Nottingham, it was ranked top in the country for electronics, but everything goes up and down. Southampton's another good one, Sheffield's another good one, I think. There's 1 or 2 in Scotland that are quite good as well. But yeah, there's not like a standout one. I know people might think like Cambridge or Oxford, but not for engineering. They're more for other stuff. But yeah, I just went there because it was convenient location, and I may or may not have gone there because I liked someone that was going there. We're at the 3-hour mark, starting to compete with the WAN show. This was the problem. I was texting my dad before, and he was like, don't go on too long because you tend to just start rambling. Yeah, I used to watch the WAN show all the time. The previous attempt at this YouTube channel, like a year and a half ago, every Saturday, I'd have the WAN show on and I'd pause it while I recorded, and then every time I like stopped recording to do something, I'd press play on the WAN show. Yeah, I sort of watch it to like stay up to date with tech and things, but haven't watched it for a while now. Is it University of Sheffield? No. The elevator industry makes their own drives, sometimes I think in order to complicate and better control the service market. Yeah, that doesn't seem like something that would have to have its own like unique thing. Maybe I'll say a hard cut-off at 11 PM UK time if my voice doesn't completely go. Actually, it's probably a bad idea doing this before recording a video tomorrow, because I'll be all croaky maybe. Yeah, it's a bit weird. I don't like talking to people normally, but if there's interesting things to talk about, then I'll just keep going on and on and on and on. India is 5 time zones away from the UK. 2 AM sounds right. I love your videos, man. Thank you. I love my viewers. I can see the views dropping off the last like half an hour anyway, so probably good to end soon. I enjoyed EEV Blog's Jelly Bean series. Unfortunately, I think he only did a handful. I prefer his more educational stuff to his opinion pieces. Yeah, I thought that was quite a good series. I think I watched a few of them. But yeah, like his educational, like his video on op amps has loads of views. That's really good video. Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. I love open, relaxed electronics live streams like this. Yeah, that's what I thought. I haven't watched them recently, but I used to love watching like Big Clive's live streams and some EEV blog ones. So I thought maybe it's just as enjoyable being on the other side of it. Kind of is, except my throat hurts. Anyone? I don't know. Don't they also have a great chemistry department? I presume we're talking about Nottingham. They seem to, based on the size of the building. Because it's opposite the engineering building, and it's not as big as the engineering faculty. But it does seem to be quite a large building. But Nottingham's got a special research facility just for power electronics, which I didn't know about when I applied there, but that's where all the researchers and PhD people go. And me and my parents call it the black box. Undergraduates aren't allowed in there, which is really annoying, because they're doing like, They seem to think everything they do in there is super secret and undergrads can't be trusted. I've been in there once or twice, but yeah. So I think Nottingham is one of the better ones for power electronics. My father studied from Sheffield. That's cool. I think my dad went to Uni of Sheffield as well, but didn't do engineering. Does Perez get bullied by the engineers? I don't know. I'm just in powertrains, and we discuss the races, but we don't really know anything about the drivers. I have never watched live streams like this one. No, like this one is like first one. It's awesome. Oh. That's nice. Thank you. I was very nervous to do it. I don't really know why, but it's not been too bad. I slightly messed up though. I did an unlisted test stream with my friend before, and then that was like 20 minutes just to sort out the camera and things, and then I stopped it, just like had a quick snack and things, and then I thought I'll make that private so that no one stumbles on it. And then I accidentally clicked public. So I guess you probably all got notified, and it's called like test stream or something, and it made it look like it was a new video. That was terrible. I was like, But Yeah. Which one's it? Several a week. Oh, I'd love to do several videos a week. I don't know. I'm hoping that there should be a sort of 2 or 3 month gap between me finishing my work placement and starting my final year at uni. I'm hoping that in that time I can do a lot more videos. Either do a lot more videos or work a lot on my electric car project and do a few videos about that, because they'll be very time consuming. How are the universities these days? I design instrumentation that often ends up in uni labs. Oh, not the uni labs at Nottingham. They're quite basic. But no, the different unis all seem to have different levels of lab. I think I didn't really look at unis. I basically just applied to the top 5 that were ranked for electrical engineering that year, and then just picked Nottingham out of that list. But yeah, there does seem to be quite a variation in labs. I can't remember what uni it was, but I went to one and they had like nice 4-channel tech scopes for every desk in the lab. Whereas Nottingham's sort of the opposite end of the scale. The lab is more like a classroom with cupboards with some equipment in. If you want to use a scope, you have to go and get it out the cupboard, put it on the table. It's not like a workbench with the second level. It's just a table. They're not that good, but I'm not going to slag off the uni. I think they make up for it several times over with the quality of some of the teachers and things. So, yeah. But yeah, I know what you mean. I have seen at other unis some quite nice, like, education-specific stuff. We've only got 2-channel scopes, which is quite annoying in our lab. When I started, they all had their own workshops and fabricated a lot themselves. Yeah, increasingly it seems they're closing. Yeah, it's the same. Schools don't really teach electronics anymore. The unis are all sort of downsizing their departments. I mean, they've probably got more people than they've ever had before, because the unis get more money the more people they get. So why? That's why a uni will advertise a course as needing 3 A's. They'll let people on with 3 C's because they get more money. The unis want people to drop out because then they get the tuition fees and don't have to deal with the people. It's a terrible system at the moment that just ends up with a lot of people at uni that shouldn't be at uni. But I will stop whinging. But yeah, definitely, it's definitely a thing at all unis that the sort of quality of the department, not the teaching, but the actual stuff, equipment and kit, is definitely getting worse. Large grants and purchasing departments. Diode Gone Wild is nice and detailed. Never seen them. Again, I haven't really watched electronics YouTube. The only YouTube I really watch at the moment is just kind of random things. I watch the B1M sometimes when I'm having a snack. Practical engineering as well. Like, I don't know, civil engineering things I seem to be watching. And I also watch videos of trains. I don't know why, but like, you know, where like a train spotter just stands in a train station and spends an hour recording trains coming and going. I'll put that on in the background. I don't know why. It's a current thing I've got going. It's a bit weird. Pakistani engineering universities are not that great, partly because of language barrier. They try to teach us in English. It's not our native language, and they burden us a lot with theory. Yeah, that second part about theory, that's just a thing everywhere. It's a lot cheaper to teach theory than practical. So, yeah, I think that's why they all do it. And if they do practical, it'll be using old, like, through-hole components and things so that the students can assemble it. So when they say practical, it's more soldering components that haven't been used for 20 years. So, like, for my second and third years at university, I led the electronics side of the Formula student team we've got. So I did like interviews and things for new students wanting to join. I had people in their final year at university, so they've been there for at least 2 years, probably 3, and they didn't know what like a surface mount capacitor looks like, because the only stuff they've ever assembled have been through-hole capacitors, and they didn't do anything outside of the course. And the course teaches you about capacitors, but the only ones you ever actually see are old ones, old through-hole ones, so that you can solder them. So, yeah, this like theory thing. People that only know the theory just kind of fall flat on their face the moment something's not working, because they're like, but I did the calculation and it says the ripple current will be 5 amps. Why is it 10 amps? And because they haven't got any practical understanding. Yeah, it's like the sizing of things as well. Like, if you've got any practical experience at all, you can just sort of see a cable and be like, oh, that might take 10 amps or whatever. But you get people doing their final year projects and they've got some cable and they want to put 100 amps through it. That's like 1 millimeter squared cable. But because they've never actually used cable before, they've got no like engineering intuition and like common sense. The courses really need to do better at that. So, is power electronics as wide as drives to power stations? Do you see yourself working for a drive company or power delivery? Drives to power stations. It is a very wide topic, power electronics. It's basically, yeah, any electronics that's converting power. So it's any range from like milliwatts to megawatts or gigawatts. Definitely the automotive stuff I'm most interested in. I'm not really sure why. Probably I like cars. I used to watch lots of Top Gear and things, so it's like two things I like together. But yeah, so if I had to get a job in like a normal job in power electronics and things, that's the thing. I really enjoy teaching, so that's probably more likely. But if I got a conventional not teaching job, it would probably be something automotive or at least traction. So that includes sort of trains and buses and yeah, I don't know. There's something about it moving that makes it a bit more interesting, I think. FWIW. What does that mean? FWIW. For what it's worth. For what it's worth, I collaborated with another user on the forum on something called it's a list of all EE YouTubers. Oh, that sounds very good. Yeah, because sometimes some of them are quite hard to find if they've got sort of obscure names or something like that. probably I'm a bit like that. Started that 7 years ago, wow. SignLab is a somewhat underrated channel I discovered a few months back. He's a student like you. He tried making an op-amp out of BJTs. Oh, that was something I was thinking of doing, but I don't think my analog design is good enough. That's really cool. Especially if he's a student. I will have a quick look, because most of the big electronics YouTubers are, I think they're either on the older side of age, or they're more YouTuber than engineer. Oh wow, I've got more subscribers than him. Ultimate Guide to Transistors, BJT. That's just like my MOSFET one, but BJTs. Oh, and his most viewed video has more views than mine. How many total views has he got? Ooh, 1 million. Yeah, interesting. He does look young. Not in a creepy way. I trained in electrical engineering. The problem there was a lot of the tutors had never been out in the real world and actually had hands-on experience. It was all taught from books. Yeah, it's probably like at least half of my lecturers, and I think it's the case at most unis, they sort of did their undergraduate, they did a master's, they did a PhD, and then they became a teacher, and like they've never done anything except academia. And I'm also slightly worried of being like that, which is why I think I'd quite like to sort of do part-time teaching, part-time proper job. But I don't really know if that's possible. They can sort of get that with the YouTube channel, that's the thing. But I think if I work 5 days a week, then I don't really have time to do a lot of YouTube. So I'd quite like to find somewhere where I can work like 3 days a week. But that seems a bit unlikely. But yeah, that's definitely a problem. Is that people? That's something I worry about for myself. Is that I'm not old enough to have like tons of experience. Like I think I've got quite a lot for my age because I started very young and I've done so many projects and things, and I've also like chatted to so many people that have a lot of experience. But I still worry sometimes that I'm talking about something I've never experienced myself. I've just read about it, and I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, I've caught up with the bottom of the chat, and I've been going for far too long, so I'm going to end the stream now before there's any big long awkward silence, and I'll guess I'll make this an unlisted video in a playlist in case anyone's really bored. So thank you everyone. That's what happens every single sentence I say when I'm recording a video. Thank you everybody for watching. I will wait a little bit to see people saying bye. Oh, someone's just said hello just as the stream's ending. You'll have to go back and watch it from the start. Yeah, I'll quickly reply to the PO box thing. I was thinking about that, but I don't really know how to like announce it. I can't really see a good opportunity in a video to say, by the way, I've set up this thing, can you just send me free stuff please? But also I think there's no point me doing that now because I'm like moving around the country a bit as I get jobs and student and things, but once I've settled down a bit more, I would probably consider doing something like that. Yes, I giggle a lot at people who get high grade. Like I'm probably like a little bit above average in my year at uni, but I'm miles away from the top people in terms of grades at uni. But but then I see like their final year project or something, and they're like downloading things from Thingiverse and using other people's code from GitHub, and they still can't make it work. Anyway, I won't be mean. Goodbye, everybody. Why do people annoy you? Because I'm an introvert, and I have the condition, as my mother likes to say. Goodbye.